very successful new shortstop and the old shortstop are both in town together tonight as the Mets and Marlins kick off a series at Citi Field. At Citi Field in New York, the New York Mets play the Miami Marlins. Tuesday Night Baseball on SNY is presented by Citi. And a pleasant good evening, everybody, and welcome to Citi Field. I'm Gary Cohen. Keith Hernandez and Ron Darling join me in just a moment as the Mets open a three-game series against the Miami Marlins. Before the season began, the Marlins were the hot pick of many to win not only the National League East, but perhaps the entire National League. They went out and spent a lot of money on Jose Reyes and Heath Bell and Mark Burley, but boy, have things changed in an awful hurry since the beginning of the year, Keith.
Well, new stadium, a very excited owner, and Jeffrey Loria spending a lot of money. This ball club has really been the biggest disappointment in baseball, I think. They went out in early July and acquire Carlos Lee to really bolster the ball club. And everybody said, oh, they're making a big push here to try to turn this thing around. He might be the guy. And then look what happens. They completely unload everybody that's been very important to this ball club, including the fourth guy down, Hanley Ramirez, who became very, very problematic. And you just don't see this very often, Garrett. It's been a very disappointing season for them. And I think, we talk about Terry Collins' personality taking over this team. Well, I think a lot of this has to do, and Ronnie will add to that, on the manager over there for the Marlins.
Well, it certainly seemed from the beginning of the year, Ronnie, like it was a kind of a dysfunctional group. And, Ozzie Guillen is a pretty volatile manager.
Well, he's a volatile manager. Also, he's not a very patient manager. And if you're not playing the game right, and Ozzie was a guy that used to play the game right and hard, he wants those kind of players to really evolve around Mike Stanton or Giancarlo Stanton, who's going to be coming back in the lineup today. Hey, listen, they should have wished for better things. In the offseason, they said, hey, we really want to compete with the Phillies. Well, they are.
Well, the Mets tonight will send John Neese to the mound. And one of the goals for the Mets over these last 2 months of the season is to get Neese healthy and strong to the end of the year.
Well, that's the key. We want to see that he finishes this season, finishes it strong. Well, he was outstanding against the Giants in his last start. 8 wins, trying to push for double figures.
And the former Padre Wade LeBlanc recently pulled out of the bullpen to start games for the Marlins.
The thing I like about LeBlanc when he started his career, he's a guy that can really get out right-handed hitters. In fact, he does it better than getting out left-handed hitters because he has such an outstanding changeup.
Mets have 53 games to go in the year. 12 of them will be against the Marlins starting tonight. It's the Mets and Marlins from Citi Field. All the action coming your way on SNY. by Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. By Budweiser. By AT NY, rethink possible. By New York State, discover what you love, plan your vacation now. By Geico. And by the all-new Mazda CX-5 with 35 highway miles per gallon. Get to Citi Field as the series with Jose Reyes and the Marlins continues tomorrow night at 7:10. Visit Mets.com or call 718-507-TIXX for your tickets now. Let's take a drive around the majors presented by Cadillac. Justin Verlander made a throwing error. It cost him a couple of unearned runs. No matter. 14 strikeouts in 8 innings, under 32 pitches as the Tigers beat the Yankees 7-2. Jeff Weaver now 15-1. He's won 10 in a row. Complete game, 4-hitter, 9 strikeouts as the Angels blanked the A's last night 4-0. And the Red Sox, the only team in the majors with more doubles than the Mets, and they doubled the Rangers to death 9-2 last night. Carl Crawford with 3 runs batted in for the Bo Sox. Number 5 in the rest of the Mets getting ready for the Marlins. First pitch is coming right up from Citi Field. Met did the honors unveiling the Mets All-Star Game logo as they look forward to hosting the All-Star Game here at Citi Field next July, and Met players present and past participating in the ceremonies. There's the Hyundai Marlins starting lineup, and if you think there are some unrecognizable names, well, you're not alone. Reyes and Buck are really the only starters from the beginning of the season who've been playing every day. Giancarlo Stanton, though, does join them, coming back from the disabled list after missing almost a month because of knee surgery.
Well, Jonathan Neese was outstanding in his last start, as said in pregame, against the Giants. But even more impressively, 8 of his last 10 starts, he's pitched at least 7 innings. He's become a real workhorse for Terry Collins.
And we'll take a look at the Lexus Metsy defense. Murph at first base today against the left-hander. Ike Davis getting sat down. It's only Murph's 4th start at first base this season. Tejada, of course, has just been splendid in the field. What can you say about him?
Now, it's been a tumultuous season for Ozzie Guillen. Starting out with all the preseason expectations, working through his comments about Fidel Castro, and then the meltdown of this team. Back in early June, the Mets and the Marlins and the Nats were in a virtual three-way tie for first place in the National League East. The Mets have faded since then, but the Marlins have plummeted. Ironically enough, Jose Reyes is going through his best stretch of the season as the Marlins have played their worst. Donovan Solano now playing second base for Miami. The Marlins traded away Omar Infante, then Emilio Bonifacio re-injured his thumb, and so Solano, the rookie from Colombia, will lead off and play second base against John Neese. And the first pitch of the night is in for a call strike, and we're underway at Citi Field. Solano, whose older brother Jonathan is also a rookie in the National League East, playing for Washington, has been a jack of all trades for Miami. Solano can play just about anywhere.
Well, he and his brother have become only the 13th and 14th players to play in the major leagues from Colombia.
Most famous were a couple of shortstops, Edgar Renteria and Orlando Cabrera, and they're almost every player who has come out of Colombia to the big leagues from the same town in Barranquilla near the coast. Fouled away. The rest of the country in Colombia is soccer crazy, but Barranquilla is the baseball haven.
Donovan's mom is a big fan of Mellow Yellow.
And Solano lifts one out to right field. Scott Hairston squeezes it for the first out of the night. So one out and nobody on. Now Justin Ruggiano. Ruggiano, a journeyman player, has been a spark for the Marlins lately. 30 years old, getting a chance to play, and he has put up tremendous numbers since they called him up. This is the 37th game he started. And Neese gets ahead of him, 0-1.
Well, he's not a young man, 30 years old, but he has just worn it out.
Put in some time with Tampa Bay. Not a lot of time for 3 seasons, but you know, you give guys opportunities and sometimes they can run with them. And in a lost year for Miami, he has been a big bright spot. Off-speed pitch hit to shallow center. Torres started back, now coming on, and that's the second out. So Neese uses the changeup to get the fly ball. 2 out and nobody on, and now Jose Reyes for his first at bat. Jose somewhat surprisingly said he expected a better reception coming back to Citi Field this time than he did when he arrived here in April, which, as you can tell, did not happen. It's a fastball for a strike from Neese. Reyes really struggled in his first series here against the Mets. Went just 1 for 12, but had a great series against the Mets down in Miami. These teams have played only 2 series this year, and they've got 12 games left against each other over these last 7 weeks of the season.
Well, Jose's hitting streak, 24 games, started at the All-Star second half.
Little pop up on the right side. Easy play for Ronnie Cedeno, and a very strong start for John Neese as he sets the Marlins down 1-2-3. Mets come up in the bottom of the first with no score. Lineup tonight, no Ike Davis. Daniel Murphy, though, at first base and hitting second. Jason Bay in there against the lefties, and that might be the entirety of his role going forward. Ruben Tejada takes a strike from Wade LeBlanc. Tejada with an 11-game hitting streak going, hitting at .323.
LeBlanc has always had a little difficult time on the road. 9-13, almost a 6 ERA with the Padres. Second start here for the Marlins.
He's a soft-tossing lefty who's generally been more successful getting right-hand hitters out than lefties because his best pitch is a changeup. This is high with a curveball, and it's 2-1. Daniel Murphy and David Wright to follow. Mets come home from a 6-5 road trip that took them through Arizona, San Francisco, and San Diego. And there's that good off-speed pitch by LeBlanc, and it's 2-2.
Almost every single time he is going to be behind in the count. This is what you're going to see from LeBlanc.
Just his second start for the Marlins. He had begun the year in the minor leagues, made 16 starts in New Orleans. And a foul tip held by John Buck. Tejada's a strikeout victim. First out for LeBlanc.
And look at this made over Marlin defense, brought to you by Coors Light. Reyes 13 errors this season. Nick Green, this is his first start. He's just recently called up. Carlos Lee only 28 games at first base. You look at Donovan Solano, only 5 games at first base. They got Kearns out in left field with the injury to Logan Morrison. He's only got 14 games. So this is really a makeover here for this Marlin team.
There's Daniel Murphy, 4 for 4 Saturday, hitless Sunday, and he's got a base hit his first time up on Tuesday night. Murphy, first pitch swinging, dumps one into left, and the Mets have the first base runner of the night.
Well, no wasting time. First pitch, fastball in, and Murph inside outs nicely. And that's what Murph does well, and that's why he hits 300. He has that ability to inside out and stay level and hit that liner. In this case, a soft liner to left field.
So 1 out and 1 on for David Wright. Things have not been going well for David of late. 0 for his last 12, 7 for his last 48. His average as low as it's been all year at .325. Still good for 7th in the National League.
Well, we mentioned, Gary, when that team, the Mets, went bad coming out of the gate in the second half, I think that David got back into that little uppercut swing, trying to do too much to help the club offensively when he was so good at swinging level the first half of the season.
And he pops this one up into right field. Should be easy for Giancarlo Stanton. And that's the second out. And that's been the result for David. More fly balls than earlier in the year and more strikeouts by a large margin than he was suffering through earlier in the year.
Well, since July 23rd, hitting only just 160. So, and the K ratio has really gone up since June, Gare.
Now Scott Hairston, who's feasted on lefties all year, and he's been a hot hitter lately, hitting .350 over his last 15 games. Scott with 14 home runs, 9 of them against lefties, and getting the start tonight against LeBlanc in the cleanup spot. Wade LeBlanc pitching on his 28th birthday today. Came over from San Diego in the offseason for the catcher John Baker, who we just saw in San Diego over the weekend. LeBlanc taking the rotation spot of Carlos Zambano, who has been shuttled off to the bullpen. And Hairston takes a fastball for a strike. Basically, for the Marlins, Josh Johnson and Mark Burley have done their job, but the rest of their starting pitching has been just awful, and that's why LeBlanc is getting a crack at starting again.
Anibal Sanchez was traded in Alaska, coming off an awful start. He's having a tough year.
0-1 to Hairston. And the breaking ball in the dirt.
I can see why there was interest in why Anibal Sanchez was traded. I traded the Detroit picked him up, I believe, and I liked his stuff better than anybody's. Nolasco, to me, the last couple of years has just lost a little bit of his fastball, and I think that's made all the difference for him. He's really struggled. Has to be more refined and pinpoint with his pitches.
Well, the bottom line is not pretty. Over the last 2 months, as the Marlins have gone in the tank, taking Johnson and Burley out of it, the other Marlins starters have gone 6-20 with a 6.37 ERA.
Wow.
So you can understand why they've sought to make some changes, and LeBlanc is one of those changes.
Looks like it's working for the Baltimore Orioles. Huh? They got rid of 3/5 of their rotation. They've been doing a lot better.
Last year, LeBlanc made 14 starts for San Diego, 5-6, 4.6 ERA. He spent parts of 4 years with the Padres. There's Mark Burley. Will not face the Mets in this series. And Hairston cues one foul, 1-2.
Well, the Marlins, of the first 4 months of the season, they really only had one winning season, and that was a whale of a month. In May, they went 21-8, but every other month, they're well under 500.
Very enlightening interview today in the Miami Herald with David Sampson, the president of the Marlins, and basically a mea culpa, saying, hey, we thought we were putting together a great club and we did everything wrong, which you know, is a pretty stunning self-indictment on the 7th of August. But they were quick to try and build this club, and they were just as quick when it wasn't working to start tearing it down.
I think they put a lot of emphasis on Ozzie Guillen being able to handle a Hanley Ramirez, and also the transition. Jose Reyes coming over, Hanley moving to third, all the issues there. Zambano coming over.
I mean, you had a lot of volatile personalities coming together in a clubhouse, and the fact that Heath Bell struggled earlier in the year, I thought, had a huge impact.
Yes, it did. That's the biggest thing on the field, is that they were in a position in April and in June to win some ball games, and just Heath couldn't get out of his own way.
Well, we saw it here in April. He had a meltdown.
Well, you know, they kept Heath Bell.
These are the keys that we identified going into the season as to what would tell the story for the Marlins. And, well, Hanley certainly didn't perform well and was traded away. Bell was awful, and Stanton just coming back from knee surgery. Other than that, he and Johnson have been able to stay healthy, but that has not been the difference maker. Hairston punches one foul.
I agree with Ronnie that Heath Bell was really so bad, and games they should have won, and saves that he blew in the 9th inning. That makes a big difference. It's demoralizing for a club. Now, that being said, first year for Heath Bell, big contract, new place, free agent, new fan base. I look for Heath Bell next year to come bounce back next year.
Got 2 more years on that big contract.
Well, you got 2 more months. You could start bouncing back now.
Out of the closer's role and out of the spotlight for the moment. And Hairston fouls off another one. You know, there was a rumor, and I don't know how much truth there was to it, that the Mets and Marlins talked about a deal that would have sent Jason Bay to Miami and brought back Bell and Buck to the Mets. And from the Mets standpoint, because of their problems with their catching and with what you just said, the fact that Bell might be a lot better next year, I don't know who initiated those talks, but it sure sounded good from the Mets standpoint.
Yeah, right. And John Buck not having a good year, hitting 172, and that was a guy that had some good years, power years up in Toronto. I don't know what's in the water up there, but he goes up to Toronto and hits home runs.
So does everybody. Again, the 2-2, and Hairston fouls off another one. This is turning into a marathon. 8 pitches deep between LeBlanc and Hairston. If I recall correctly, John Buck had a pretty good first game for the Marlins last year.
Yes, he did. Little right center field grand slam.
Gets Mike Pelfrey on opening night. LeBlanc trying to put away Hairston with Murphy at first and 2 down. 9th pitch of the at bat, and Hairston bloops one behind first base. Lee will not get to it. Carlos Lee just doesn't have the mobility to get to that ball. Carlos Lee coming over in the trade in early July. And the other rumor that's out there is that the Marlins executed a trade of Lee to the Yankees, and then Lee turned it down, which he had the right to do with his no trade clause, which I thought was fascinating.
Wow.
He had only been with the Marlins for less than a month and turned down the opportunity to go right into a pennant race.
And Lee's been red hot, but boy, are his power numbers diminished.
10th pitch of the at bat, and Hairston bounces one down to third, a foul ball, and so Hairston, who spent about 10 minutes in the batter's box, will keep it going.
You're talking about a guy, Carlos Lee, that over 350 home runs, over 1,300 RBIs, 465 doubles.
He's got 6 home runs on the year and 353 at bats.
Yeah.
That's stunning.
Hairston pops another one in foul ground, and again Lee over for a look. Over comes Stanton, and the slide by Solano, who makes the grab.
Wow.
Beautiful play by the rookie Donovan Solano, coming out of nowhere to get to that foul pop-up and retire Hairston to end the inning. Beautiful play. That'll keep it scoreless after an inning at Citi Field. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
I saw my car down there, and yours, Garrett.
I saw mine too. Yeah. Yours is okay.
I'm glad it's still there.
Is the cell phone still on the roof?
Oh gosh.
Carlos Lee leading off in the second inning takes a strike.
I'm busted. I left my phone in the trunk of my car. I panicked.
36-year-old Lee hits one in the air to right field. Should be easy for Scott Hairston. And that's the first out of the inning. So Neese has retired the first 4 to face him.
All in the air.
Yeah.
John Neese coming off a terrific start his last time out.
Very exciting. 49 years since the last All-Star game, and only All-Star game.
First year of Shea Stadium, 1964. Johnny Callison hit the walk-off home run for the National League. Here's Giancarlo Stanton, fresh off the disabled list today, and he takes a strike. He had some knee surgery to clean up some loose bodies in that knee. The Marlins went 8-17 while he was out. And right now, Stanton is the best reason to come watch the Marlins play. 22 years old with maybe the best power in the game. And the curveball from Neese misses 2-1.
And he's quietly, maybe not so quietly, started to become a Met killer, isn't he?
7 home runs against the Mets and just 100 career at bats. And takes the big grip at the fastball, 2-2. He only has 285 at bats this year. He's got 19 home runs.
Oh, he's got a hole here, up and in. He got enough on it.
No, he's a big, strong kid. There's no question. Remember that base hit he hit, the double he hit on a ground ball through the infield just to the left of Tejada back in Miami Stadium, Gary? It rolled past the outfield. It hit so hard.
And he goes down swinging on the curveball, so Neese has his first strikeout of the night. So Stanton fans in his first at bat off the disabled list.
This will be the next development of Nice when he has the ability, when he's ahead in the count, to bounce that curveball, not throw it for a strike. See that ball come out of his hand with that great tilt. Starts to break and then picks up momentum almost.
Who are those physicists that say that the ball can't possibly break? It's like those guys that say you can't possibly read the seams on a ball out of the pitcher's hand.
Some of those guys are pretty good hitters.
I was talking about the scientists.
Yes.
Austin Kearns playing left field. Logan Morrison on the disabled list these days. And that's into center field, and the Marlins have their first hit off John Neese. So Austin Kearns aboard with a 2-out single. Let's check out the Mets' upcoming schedule. You can listen to every Mets game on Sports Radio 66 WFAN. We're in the Pepsi Porch tomorrow night. Early day game Thursday. Matt Harvey makes his first Citi Field start Friday night against the Braves. Johan Santana makes his return Saturday night. There's a lot going on this homestand. And that's where we're going to be tomorrow. Up there. We have been very fortunate. The 2 prior games we worked out of the Pepsi Porch last year in this. Gorgeous weather each time. And looks like it should be again tomorrow. Nick Green flies one out to right field. And Hairston, who's been busy early, puts it away to retire the side. Marlins get their first hit. Kearns is stranded. Jason Bay leads off the bottom of the second with no score. Coming to Citi Field for a post-game concert this Friday, presented by Dwayne Reed and Just for Men. Catch Mercy Me live in concert after the Mets host the Braves. Get to Mets.com/MercyMe or call 718-507-TIXX. Change in plan for Jason Bay. It was very interesting listening to Terry Collins earlier today. He never used the word platoon in referring to Jason's future role with this team. What he said was we need to get our left-hand hitters in there more against right-hand pitchers, and that he will use Bay based on matchups, which in plain English means that Jason's now a platoon player. Stanton over toward the line, and Bay is retired, one away.
Platoon player, but interesting enough, in San Diego on Sunday, is in the lineup against the right-hander Marquis because of his numbers. So if the numbers are overwhelming against Marquis, I think he had 5 home runs and was batting 400 or so.
Well, Terry had said that the road trip was going to be a proving ground for Bay as Ronnie Cedeno digs in, and Ronnie had a great road trip. And that proving ground turned out to be a real dud for Bay. There's just no way around it. He was 2 for 31 on the road trip, which if you go back through Mets history and look at road trips where hitters had at least 30 at bats, it's the second worst in history. Only Todd Hundley, who had a 2 for 32 West Coast trip in 1993, had a less productive trip with that many at bats. So basically, Terry gave him his shot, and it's just not happening for Jason, and so his role is going to be lessened. And how he handles that, and whether he can be a contributing member of the team, and what that means going forward, I think is anybody's guess. Sandy Alderson was quoted tonight as saying that the Mets will not eat Bay's contract. 3-1 to Cedeno, who's driven in 8 runs in his last 3 games, and he takes ball 4, and so Ronnie is on with a 1-out walk. So 1 out and 1 on for Andres Torres, who continues to be a very productive right-hand hitter, if somewhat less so from the left side, and gets to swing right-handed tonight against Wade LeBlanc.
All hitting .312 to be exact against left-handers.
And his on-base percentage from the right side, .434. Cedeno at first and 1 out. LeBlanc spent a lot of time tossing to first base with Daniel Murphy standing there. LeBlanc, Cedeno is not a base stealer at all.
LeBlanc throws a lot of strikes. He's one of the few guys you could hit and run if you wanted to first pitch. Can't really blame the pitcher on the throws to first anymore, because every manager likes to take care of the running game. They're the ones that put the sign on.
And the fastball just off the plate to Torres for ball 1. Just misses, and it's 2-0.
Well, Gary Darling right now, he's consistent. He does not give anything high in the strike zone to the pitcher.
Always been a low ball umpire.
Cuz,
right?
There's a strike, 2-1. Gary Darling, the crew chief, Paul Emmel, Scott Barry, and Jerry Meals rounding out the crew.
And Gary Darling, I remember when I was an aging veteran, he was young and coming up. I remember his rookie year. Looked like Jim Palmer. And the ultimate politician I was to get on the good side of umpires. I said, you know who you look like? You look like Jim Palmer. Try to get on his good side.
That's pretty good.
He didn't get the underwear commercials, did he?
No, but he gave me some strikes.
There you go. 2-2 to Torres, and the breaking ball struck him out. So LeBlanc takes care of Torres with the changeup, his second strikeout.
It's his best pitch. Not only does he get the good break going down, but he also, about 10 miles an hour slower, turns it over.
Well, that is the pitch of the year. Everybody comes up now, and you've got to throw a changeup. Don't matter if you throw 98 miles an hour, you got to have a changeup.
Which, of course, is the discussion that's been going on about Matt Harvey and his progression from his first start to his third. And it'll be very interesting to see what the game plan is for Harvey when he faces the Braves on Friday night. Josh Thole, the batter, 0 for his last 11. And a 2-strike count to Josh.
Well, I found it very interesting with Sandy Alderson's comments in the paper about, you got to go with what brought you to the dance.
Right.
It's like having a young Tom Seaver come up throwing 99, 98 with the hard slider and tell him on a second start you got to throw changeups.
I can just say for myself, Keith, that when I came up, I had 2 pitches, and that's all I threw for all of 84 and most of 85. And then once the league knows you, okay, then you can start changing up a little bit, introducing another pitch.
Did you have the splitter in the minor leagues?
I didn't have the splitter until I broke my thumb.
So that was a work in progress.
Yeah.
I seem to recall your teammate who came up in '84 who was here tonight survived pretty well with 2 pitches.
Yeah, he
Gooden?
did.
Mr. Gooden?
Yeah, he did pretty well. It was great to see him today, by the way. It makes me laugh every time I see him.
I could tell you a great story.
Tolle hits one softly to third. Tough play for Nick Green, and he got him at first base. Nice play by Green, his first start of the year for the Marlins, and he throws out Tolle to end the innings. You'll tell us that story later.
Yes.
Beautiful shots from above tonight. John Buck will lead off against John Neese in the third. Neese looking to build off a terrific outing against the Giants his last time out, and off to a nice start tonight. Buck has had a very difficult year at the plate. Hit just .227 last year with 16 home runs. His batting average has dropped more than 50 points, and he's got 8 home runs. Takes a curveball for a strike. And to boot, he hasn't hit lefties. 139 against left-handed pitchers.
Saw that.
Had some very productive years in Kansas City. Had the big year in Toronto before he came to Miami.
Well, this ballpark down in Miami, the new park, is really tailor-made for a team with a lot of speed. A lot of
strike 3 called, so 3 pitches, and Neese takes care of Buck for the first out.
It is a park like Busch Stadium, Old Busch Stadium, the Astrodome, where why would you want to bring a lot of power guys in and wanted to take advantage of the big spaces? And it was much what Whitey Herzog did when he came over to the Cardinals. We built our '82 championship team. He brought all the speed and defense and took advantage of the wide spaces.
Here's Wade LeBlanc, pretty good hitting pitcher, lifetime .292 batter. What's interesting, as I read today, that in both San Diego and Seattle, which are both pitchers parks, they are talking about bringing the fences in somewhat, especially after seeing what has happened here at Citi Field this year. Oh, man, LeBlanc is hit by the pitch.
Ouch.
Not often a pitcher hits his counterpart. Just the third batter Neese has hit this year.
One, let me ask you a question. Why would you be coming in to a pitcher? There's no need to pitch to a pitcher. Just blow him away. LeBlanc's not that good of a hitter.
He's hitting .500.
Yeah, I know. 1 for 2. Now that's a small sample.
So here's Donovan Solano with 1 out and 1 on. Solano fly to right his first time up. And the curveball down for ball 1. So you had your Doc Gooden story you were going to tell?
Oh, Whitey Herzog came up to me when after Doc's first year, then second year with the great Cy Young year.
24-4.
And then they got him for the cutter. Why? He said, why does he need a third pitch? He's doing pretty good with 2. You got a point.
Well, I remember when there was discussion about teaching Dwight to sink the ball so you'd have a less of a pitch count.
Right. Get some quick outs.
Come on.
He also tried to teach him to hold runners on.
He got better with that.
He did.
He did get better. He was fun to play.
He did a lot of practice early in his career.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, for those 8 base runners he'd have a year, he did a better job.
Solano, who spent 7 years in the Cardinals organization, lines it back to Nice, and that'll be a double play to end the inning. Look what I found in my glove. John Nice snagging the hard line drive off the bat of Solano and turning it into a 1-3 double play. Nifty glove work. Off against Wade LeBlanc, whom Nice just plunked with a pitch. So is LeBlanc going to retaliate?
Absolutely not. Jonathan wasn't trying to do that. Now, later in the year, September, you're winning by 8 runs. Maybe just for fun.
Did somebody just tell him to stay loose?
Maybe.
7 hits on the year for John, who's been the Mets' best hitting pitcher this year, batting at .206. And he takes a strike. Saturday night will be a big night here when Johan Santana returns to the Mets rotation, and he's standing by with Kevin Burkhardt. Kevin?
Good to see you back in these sports. What's it feel like to be back?
Definitely a great feeling, finally have an opportunity to be back and be around with these guys. Definitely feel good.
What was it like for you? You had 3 innings you pitched in Brooklyn, but for you to go down there and see those kids, see the looks on their faces. I saw you took a lot of pictures and things like that. Tell me about that experience.
No, it was great. A lot of those guys that were there, they were guys that players that were last year in extended sprint, and not just I saw some familiar faces, and then definitely hanging out with them and talking. We talked for some time, and then took some pictures and autograph. It was great thing, and then good to see him, and I got my work done too.
How was the rest most beneficial for you?
I mean, I felt good from top to bottom. I was able to rest to get my body back in place, and then definitely ready to get back.
Even though the ankle was a big reason for this, did the shoulder now that you've had that break, did the shoulder, do you think it helps? Because I know you touched 90 yesterday. Do you think that helped too? Just kind of everything, give it a little break.
Yeah, definitely. Again, when you have your mechanics and everything, and something is not right, you start compensating, and that's the thing. You don't want it to do anything different. But I was able to rest and come back and put everything back together, and I feel really good right now.
Let me ask you, you have a nice event going on Thursday in the city. It's a wine tasting going to benefit the Johan Santana Foundation. Can you just give me an idea overall of what that's going to benefit, where that money's going to go, and just your foundation in a broad sense?
Well, we're very happy, because we've been doing this for a few years now, and then our event is going to raise some money to the melanoma research. That's what we've been doing, and also we are coming up with a sport complex and baseball field that we want to build back in my hometown in Venezuela. So it's for the kids and for everybody, and for the people, bring awareness to people, about how deadly this melanoma is, this disease is, and I'm very happy to be part of it.
What's that like for you when you go back and see the looks on the kids' faces of the field that they now get to use?
It's the greatest feeling in the world, because I was a kid once in my life, and I always wanted to be like these guys, and now I have an opportunity to help, and I know exactly what it means for them, and definitely something that I wanted to do that we're gonna get done in the next year, and hopefully everybody will take advantage of it.
And let me ask you, he's not really a kid, but Matt Harvey was up here and pitched on this road trip while you were away. I don't know if you got a chance to see him. Certainly he was in camp this spring. Tell me about your thoughts on him, and do you go up to somebody like that and try to talk baseball, or do you wait for somebody like that to talk to you, as Tejada has himself, I think?
No, we have talked. We talked in spring training, and he got the makeup. There's no question, and right when before they went to Arizona, I told him just to go out there and have some fun, and then he just did that, the first game out, so it's always good to see. I think in the near future you're going to see some good arms coming up, and that's a good thing. I think he's definitely the example of how good this team is going to be in the future.
This is for you. When you did go down, was it tough to go down at that point because the team was starting to struggle a little bit? Was it hard at that particular point to go down, knowing how much the team really obviously could use a guy like you?
Yeah, no question. I want to help. We're in this together, and whether our good or bad days, we're gonna go down or we're gonna go up together, and that was tough for me. But at the same time, I was out, and I was just trying to get back as soon as I can, and now I'm here and ready to go.
Last one before we let you go. We saw John Neese last half inning, obviously accidentally come in and hit LeBlanc. Are you charging the mound there if that's you? I mean, would you use that feistiness and go?
It all depends, how painful it is, but there was not intention there. I mean, it's just a mistake, but he pulled it back, and made that play after that. It was good.
Johan, good to see you back. Best of luck to your start on Saturday, and also, terrific job with the charity work that you're doing Thursday in New York.
Well, thank you. I want to thank all the sponsors, that I've been able to support and make this possible for us, and I really want to thank you, and I'm back.
Johan Santana, Johan Santana Foundation. He'll be back on Saturday, fellas. Back up to you.
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks to Johan. The interview brought to you by the Xerox business of baseball. Xerox, ready for real business. Murphy hits one toward left center field, and Ruggiano slides over and grabs it for the second out. Meanwhile, Ruben Tejada with an infield hit now has a 12-game hitting streak, the longest of his career, and Jose Reyes trying to make the impossible play.
It's just a very awkward way to throw the baseball. That's the oblique region that he's trying to stretch there.
Of course, one of the things that Jose is proudest of is that he has stayed healthy this entire season. What tremendous irony there would be if somehow he were to be injured playing on this field. 2 out and a runner on. Now David Wright, who flied out to right field his first time up. And a fastball strike from LeBlanc. David now hitless in his last 13 at bats. That's with 2 hits now off LeBlanc. That good changeup by LeBlanc, and it's 0-2. We showed this to you the other day, and it still is very apropos that David's fly ball percentage just has risen month by month.
Well, Gary, I do feel the first half of the year through June, he really stayed disciplined and hit line drives.
There's a little bloop into shallow right center that falls for a hit. Tejada will go first to third, and so David Wright breaks out of that offer with a bloop single, and the Mets have first and third and 2 out.
Well, sometimes that's all it takes. They want to come inside, and they do, and they tie him up. But you see he's falling back, and he's got that uppercut swing, and that's been his problem. And that started after the All-Star break.
So now Scott Hairston will try and make something of that. First time the Mets have had a runner past first base tonight. Hairston had an 11-pitch marathon against LeBlanc his first time up and fouled out to the second baseman. Solano made a terrific sliding catch. First and third and 2 out. No score, bottom of the third.
So Mr. LeBlanc is wanting to pitch a little inside and let the right-hand hitters know that he can come in there.
You know, what's interesting is that he's thrown a lot of the right-handed hitters inside on the first pitch, and they've been very surprised.
Well, you always say, Ronnie, the less hard you throw, the more important it is that you pitch inside. Now he'll go away, and he gets Hairston to swing at a high fastball, and it's 0-2.
No, just chased a high, hard one. He loves that high ball, and sometimes he gets a little bit too tantalizing for him. He doesn't get cheated, Mr. Hairston.
Second straight hitter LeBlanc has gotten ahead of 0-2. He was 0-2 on right before that blue pit. And Hairston pops one foul. That'll come back out of play.
I like the way he's pitching inside. Came right after him again in.
He's a strike thrower, and that's something the Marlins have been looking for.
You know, we saw it though on the road trip. You know, unless the Mets are hitting the ball at the ballpark, which they don't do a lot. How many times did you have innings where they had 3 hits, a walk, and 1 run?
That game in San Francisco, and they had 20 base runners and scored 2 runs. That was the game Nice pitched against the Giants. On the inside corner, got him looking. 4th strikeout for LeBlanc in the first 3 innings, and the Mets strand a pair in the 3rd. Still no score. Score. Justin Ruggiano leads off, and it's a big day here at Citi Field. They unveiled the All-Star Game logo for next year, but big for another reason, because Pat LaFrida, the magician of meat, has unveiled his filet mignon steak sandwich, available now behind the center field scoreboard.
Keith, you were
all the other delicacies.
You were saying the onions are great. I can't eat onions, but you said they were great.
Yes.
Steak, it's got a nice pepper taste to it. Outstanding.
I would like to make a further comment, but my mom told me never to talk with my mouth full.
I did notice, you know, they brought those sandwiches up a half inning ago, and we were going to show them all on camera, and only one of us had the discipline to wait.
You're very, very disciplined, Jerry.
I was starving. We were told we were going to get fed, and I was on the impression we were going to get fed before the game, not on the air.
But if you'd eaten it before the game, we wouldn't have been able to show the sandwiches at all.
No, I wasn't thinking. I was famished.
Tough play for Wright. He can't make the bare hand pickup, and it's a base hit for Justin Ruggiano.
Not going to compete with the burger, is it?
Hey, they can live in the same space.
Well, they're in different parts of the ballpark. Your stand is not out in center field. Here's Reyes' first at bat.
Push a bat fastball in, then stands him up straight. And nice pitching by Jonathan Niesel. Looks like he's just going to make sure that Reyes is not able to get his arms free and extended. Oh.
Wow. That's just gorgeous, isn't it? Gianna stumbling back into the bag. Reyes popped up to second base his first time up. Started the night with a 24-game hitting streak, which started right after the All-Star break. Reyes enjoying hitting third right now. Moved down to that 3-hole over the last 11 games, and he's hitting .413 since being moved to that spot. Remember when he was tried on the number 3 hole by the Mets, it didn't work out quite so well. A ball and a strike to Jose.
That was the year that asked Reyes to hit third. He didn't really want to hit third. Asked Pagan to hit first. He didn't really want to hit first. I mean, who's running this thing?
Yeah, nobody asks anymore.
Well, he's thrived in the 3-hole.
And he just misses inside with that cutter. 2-1. Well, Reyes was asked to eliminate the dreadlocks, but now he's gone to the facial hair.
What is their deal? Because I know some organizations you can't have facial hair or long hair, so they can't have the long hair, but they can have the facial hair.
Apparently so. He reaches for it. Little tapper. Tough play for Nice. And the spin around. Safe. Off the bag came Murphy, and Reyes will probably get credit for an infield hit to extend his hitting streak. Second infield hit in a row.
Well, speed kills, and that should be a base hit. Just pulled Murph off the bag.
Throw beat him.
Throw beat him. I thought that Murph was on the bag. Let's see if he's on the bag. Oh, how about that? He
might have still been. And it is a base hit for Reyes. Now it's a 25-game hitting streak. It's the second straight year that a player's hit safely in their first 20 or more games coming out of the break. Remember last year Dan Uggla, as part of that 33-game hitting streak, in his first 27 games after the break. So 2-on for Carlos Lee, and he takes the cutter inside.
Well, I think Murph, well, it's tough to see. It's coming up a little bit there, but look, maybe he did come off.
Did he have the toe still down?
120 feet of ground ball, 2 hits.
Well, Reyes now with that 25 straight games ties a club record for third. Kevin Millar had 25. And of course the leader, club leader record is Luis Castillo with 35.
Who I believe is also the all-time Marlins hit leader overall. Castillo. Lee fouls it back 1-2. Carlos Lee coming over in the trade from Houston as they cleaned house before the trading deadline. There you see what Keith was referencing, longest hitting streaks in Marlins history. Bonifacio 26 games last year, and the next target for Reyes. Bonifacio's out with a thumb injury. Hurt that thumb earlier this year and then again recently. They hope to have him back before the end of the year.
Well, Carlos Lee has an 11-game hitting streak. He's been on fire. But like we said, I mean, the power numbers are down.
He's got 355 lifetime home runs, but only 6 this year. He's 36 years old. The thing about Carlos Lee, and maybe he's the kind of guy who, if they'd gotten him in the offseason, it might have changed things for the Marlins, because he's a steadying influence, a guy who plays every day. And we talked about it early in the season, that was the kind of guy that the Marlins were really missing. That, you know, on a team of volatile personalities, might have gotten some mileage out of him if he'd been around all year.
Yeah, well-respected player. Good time to bounce that curveball. He did it earlier in the game.
Here's the 2-2 and a check swing foul on the cutter.
Well, they're pounding him with hard stuff, that's for sure.
As power hitters get a little older, get a little more vulnerable inside.
Toughest man to strike out in the National League, Carlos Lee. And East misses with another cutter, and it's 3-2. Giancarlo Stanton looming on deck. This is a huge hitter for Nice right now.
You got a guy that doesn't strike out in Lee. Only 28 strikeouts on the year, and you've got Ruggiano in the lead base on second with 8 stolen bases. I think he might set him loose here.
Try and stay out of double play if nothing else. Nice and Tolle have a big problem getting together during this at bat.
It's a slog for these two so far.
Ruggiano has no lead at second base.
Not going, and Lee just got a piece of that to stay in the at bat. Fouled that ball off his leg.
They're coming in. They're pounding them in. And you know what's remarkable about Carlos Lee? Remember, he came over from Houston with that short left field porch, and he only had 5 home runs in Houston.
Well, the numbers have been going down for a few years for Carlos, who had to move from left field to first base because of the limit on his mobility.
The range.
Of course, in Houston in left field, you can get away with that because there's so little ground to cover.
What I've seen from Jonathan Nice when he's at his best is that he'll pound a hitter in, and then he'll throw that little backdoor cutter. Backdoor slider to the right-handed hitter. I guess obviously Lee's in a lot of pain, so he's trying to shake it off or make the pitcher wait.
Looks like that foul ball just missed his shin guard and got him on the back of the heel or the ankle.
Needs a trainer.
Really? They don't have that. What they used to call it, Ronnie? That spray?
Oh yeah.
What's the name?
Chloride?
Yeah, but there was a name for it. We used to call it a freeze.
Not Mr. Freeze. Freeze.
And that never worked. That was all superficial. Come on. Let's go.
The way Lee was smiling, maybe it's the latter case, and he was just trying to make Nice be the guy who froze.
Jonathan hasn't thrown a pitch now in what, 2-3 minutes? That's the biggest pitch he might throw early in this game.
This will be the 8th pitch of the at bat from Nice to Lee, and he pulls one foul. Almost took out his third base coach, Joey Espada.
Wow.
That's why they wear helmets.
Just think for Jonathan, the problem comes when you keep pounding the hitter in. It's hard to locate that ball in 4, 5, 6, 7 times in a row.
Tolle moves away, and Lee smacks it into left for a base hit, and the Marlins will take the early lead. Ruggiano scores. Reyes to third, and stopping at first is Carlos Lee with an RBI single. He's got a 12-game hitting streak, and the Marlins have a 1-0 lead.
Hanging curveball, RJ.
Try to go to plan B on 3-2, and what happens to a lot of pitchers is they love to kind of make sure they throw it for a strike. There was a hanger.
Well, why would he throw him the curve there rather than the backdoor cutter? What about that pitch selection?
Well, I think he decided to throw a second or third pitch there to fool him. Can't fool a guy who doesn't strike out.
And he just hung it. He didn't execute.
So 2 cheap infield hits, and then the base hit by Lee produces a run. Now Giancarlo Stanton, still nobody out. Stanton struck out his first time up, his first at bat off the disabled list.
It's that good curveball that got him out in the first inning, but it's the one that bounces. That's the key.
I don't know. I don't think that missed any, but I got lady in the head.
Oh, jeez.
Ball gets into the stands so quickly. As they retrieve the bat.
That's his gamer. They'll get her a bat that's probably a BP bat. I would want my gamer back, and in exchange for another bat that I haven't used.
Now the 0-2 and the curveball driven left center field. Back goes Torres deep in the gap, and he runs it down. Great play. Reyes can walk on in with the second run of the inning. A sacrifice fly for Giancarlo Stanton, and a terrific play by Torres to keep it from being worse.
Boy, I'll say he ran a long way for that ball. I mean, the catch is fine. It's all about getting there, the break. Nice play. That was big trouble.
So 2-0 Miami. Lee still at first with one out, and Austin Kearns coming up. Kearns at the first base hit off Nice, a single to center in the second. 2 starts back, Nice had one of those innings against Arizona. Remember, he made the throwing error and wound up being a 6-run inning. And it's been probably the biggest issue that Nice has had to contend with in his young career, is putting a limit on damaging innings.
I think that a lot of times for Jonathan, he likes to pitch with a tempo and likes to have a little tempo that really helps him go along. But there are times you have to recognize situations, step off, and give it another thought.
Into right center field. That's a base hit for Kearns. Lee will pull in at second. That's the 4th hit of the inning against Nice. I mean, it's one of those innings that began with bad luck. Right? He gave up a bleeder to Ruggiano and the same to Reyes for a couple of infield hits. Then he had that long struggle with Lee and then hung a curveball. And it's those kinds of innings that have led to several games that have gotten out of hand quickly for John.
I think the big thing, Gary and Keith, is that in your maturation as a pitcher, you've got to be able to recognize when that's starting to happen, and you got to reel it back in. You know, a lot of times what happens for young pitchers, and Jonathan has enough experience, I'm not calling him a young pitcher, is that you'll be out there, and the next thing you know, you don't realize that you're in that situation that could really decide the game. And if they get another base hit or an extra base hit here, you put your team maybe harm's way.
Now Nick Green, the third baseman. Green, who was just called up the other day, making his first start for the Marlins, flied out to right field in the second inning. It might be that the last time we saw Nick Green was when he was playing for the Red Sox and the Mets went up to Fenway and Green was filling in at shortstop, and he had a day, a couple of hits, a couple of RBIs, a couple of great defensive plays. One of those days that a journeyman player dreams of. A little pop up. Tejada going back with the angle, and he's got it for the second out. So Green is retired. 2 out and 2 on. Nick Green's now played with 8 different big league teams, and he hasn't played that much, but 8 different teams. Here's John Buck, who took a call third strike his first time up.
You've got to put a lot of thought into this now. Green, LeBlanc's a pretty good hitting pitcher. I understand that. But this guy does have power.
8 home runs this year, 16 last year.
He's got 41 walks.
And the first pitch, curveball hit down the right field line, and that's an extra base hit for Buck. Lee is in. Kearns trying to score. The relay throw by Cedeno on a hop to Tolley. Safe. Going to third on the play is Buck, and it's 4-0 Miami. John Buck with a 2-run double. And Nice hanging that first pitch curveball.
Well, 3 curves, and he's been hurt badly. Hanging curves, excuse me. That ball's in the corner. The relay is perfect. The throw in is perfect from Cedeno. Strong arm, 1 hop, nice for Tolley, and a late tag. Same, sort of almost the same tag the other day in San Diego.
And then Tolley was sitting there looking at the umpire, as Buck went to third base.
Watch, you got to swipe. He's going with two hands. Sometimes you got to know when you got to swipe with one.
It's even more than that. You have to understand that when you receive the ball, it doesn't matter where the player is. What does the player have to do? He's got to slide over the plate. Where does your tag go? It doesn't go up in the air. It goes right in front of the plate on the ground. That's where you have to go immediately.
LeBlanc punches one toward the middle. Tejada gets over to play it and throws him out to end the inning. But another one of those big innings falling on the head of John Neese. 4-0 Miami in the fourth. Marlins putting up a 4 spot on the top of the fourth inning against John Neese. Started innocently with a couple of infield hits, and then it all broke down for Neese. And again, it's been a disturbing pattern for John, not just this year, but really throughout his career. He'll put together a gem like he did in his last start against the Giants, but when something starts to head downhill, all of a sudden it snowballs for him. And in that inning, the hanging curves were coming one after another. Jason Bay leads off in the home fourth.
Listen, there's a time that you're going to go through an inning where you can't have the feel for your breaking ball. But what you have to do is recognize that you don't have the feel. Go to another pitch. John hasn't thrown any of those backdoor.
Bay lines out to Kearns for the first out.
Those backdoor cutters that were so successful against the Giants. Now, I don't know. Maybe that's game plan. Maybe that's a game plan before they go into the game. They say, you know what? We're going to use curveballs. A lot more curveballs today than the backdoor cutter.
Well, let me ask you this. Just watching the way the inning progressed. Against Carlos Lee, he threw, what, about 7 straight cutters inside? At that point, do you lose the feel for your curveball?
Well, the curveball is thrown. Yeah, you definitely can lose the feel throwing one pitch over and over again. You can lose the feel. But I think that you have to also recognize the hitter. The hitter is a guy, you explained it, he talked about it, he doesn't strike out. So what you're trying to do on a 3-2 pitch is fool a guy who doesn't strike out. That's not going to happen.
Reyes handles Cedeno's ground ball for the second out.
The reason a guy doesn't strike out at all is because with 2 strikes, he has a different approach. He's putting the ball into play. Those kind of guys, you're not going to get him to look at a 3-2 curveball. It's just not going to happen. And in a 3-2 count, a lot of pitchers look at it this way. It's 3-2. I don't want to walk him, so I better throw this curve over. So you do it with the conviction of throwing it for a strike as opposed to the conviction of throwing a really good curveball.
LeBlanc quickly has retired the first two in the bottom of the fourth, and now Andres Torres takes low and away. And then there's the question about managing an inning, and you said it right before that first pitch to John Buck. You've got the pitcher on deck, you got two men on. It may be a game-breaking situation, and if you're going to throw him a first pitch curveball, it would seem as though that's the place you want to bounce it.
Well, I think what he was doing, he was throwing a first pitch curveball for a strike. Okay, that you can do if there's no one on base in an earlier inning. All right, you can't do it when you have your life on the line with people on base there. You can't do it then. And I'm not saying you have to bounce it, but you got to throw. You're a good one. You know, put a little mustard on it. Have a good break on it. Because any curveball you throw, if you throw it with conviction, if you don't have a feel for it, it won't be one that hangs. It'll be one that bounces. It'll be one that doesn't break, so it stays way up in the strike zone. But it'll definitely will not be one that'll be hit.
Amazing sometimes how pitching can be a mind-body experience. And Torres draws a walk, and the Mets have a two-out base runner. Second walk given up by LeBlanc. You know what I mean? I mean, should it matter so much that conviction affects the way a pitch is thrown?
Mel Stottlemyre used to say it all the time to every single pitcher that came through here for a 6, 7, 8 year period, and that is, I don't care what you throw. I'm not going to call anything for the bench. This is your game. This is going to be your win or loss. But I'd rather you 100% behind the wrong pitch than 50% behind the pitch that we think you should throw.
And I've always felt we've gotten away from the athlete himself has to go out there. They're men and make their own choices and not have people make choices for you. I see more and more of that again today, and I think it deters development of the player. And it tends to breed looking over your shoulder for someone to help you. You know, you're out there by yourself. Do it yourself. Let's go.
But I think that plays into what Ronnie just said. You know, the information that they're given is based on fact. In other words, so-and-so does not hit a 3-2 curveball, you know, well. But, again, if it's not a 3-2 curveball that you believe in and it ends up hanging, then that's the wrong pitch, right? Even if it was the right pitch for the situation based on what past experience of that and other pitchers might tell you.
But if you're standing on the mound and your catcher puts down a 3-2 curveball, you look at him and say, I don't know if you've been catching what I've been throwing, but I'm hanging that curveball. We can't throw the curveball. Next. Let's go to the next thing. And I want to come off as questioning pitches, because that's not what we do here, or I don't feel like doing that. I mean, boy, I've got a whole history of questioning pitches I threw. So it's not about that. It's just I think it's really about how do you use the information and how do you use it wrapped around your great athleticism.
Tolley lines one the other way, and that'll be a base hit. So after the 2-out walk to Torres, Tolley snaps an 0 for 12 skid with an opposite field hit.
Well, he pounded him in, and Josh just stayed in. Fastball away.
Terry Collins will choose to stay with John Neese. Down 4-0 in the fourth. Mets just called up a reliever today. Garrett Olson is up from Buffalo, where he did some relieving but also started this year, so they've got an available long man for today's game. But even after giving up 4 runs in the top of the inning, Neese is allowed to hit.
Neese's history, though, has been when he gives up those runs this season, he's come back and threw 2, 3, 4 scoreless innings.
So the question is, you weigh that against the opportunity to get a couple of runs here.
Great. I think it's still too early. Neese swings the bat good enough.
It's all things New York sports, all on one site, SNY.TV, the ultimate blog network featuring a continuous flow of sports news straight from the best New York sports blogs SNY.TV, your online home of all things New York sports. Well, Blanc ahead 0-2, and East watches the breaking ball away. Talking about the big innings against John this year. He's had 1 6-run inning, 3 4-run innings, and 6 3-run innings. So that's 10 innings in which he's allowed 3 or more runs. And he lines one the other way, but just foul.
There's a reason why when you sit on the bench and if you're a pitcher and you listen to the offensive players come in after they play defense, they have something they say all the time. Let's put up a crooked number. That's all they're trying to do. Those are the game changers.
Well, it's statistically valid that the winning team more than half the time scores more runs in their biggest inning than the opposing team scores in the entire game. 2-2 now to Nice. The big inning is what wins games.
Yeah.
LeBlanc was allowed to throw 71 pitches in his first start after coming out of the bullpen. Up to 76 today, working in the 4th inning. He went 4 1/3 against Atlanta on Wednesday. And Nice bounces one on the right side. Lee ranging wide to get it, and the toss to the pitcher, not in time. Nice hustling down the line, beats it out for an infield hit. And the Mets have the bases loaded with 2 out. Well, Guillen will come out to argue the call.
It's a play here where Caballo is not a first baseman. I thought he had him.
If you're a first baseman, you make this play at second. You don't make it at first base.
He got him. He beat him.
He got him.
First base umpire Paul Emmel appeared not to get the right call, and the Mets get a break.
And again, Gary, we have just seen some horrible first base umpiring in this season.
LeBlanc upset, rightly so.
And you're too young a player, so you can't say anything to the umpire. But you know Ozzy's going up.
So the Mets will get the tying run to the plate here in the 4th. So Nice allowed to bat. He comes through with an infield hit. There you go. 8 hits now for Nice on the season.
Another reason for pitchers to always hustle when they hit a ground ball. Why not? You never know what's going to happen.
No, you're absolutely right about Carlos Lee. Should have gone to second base for the force, or the other option was let the second baseman field it, because you're not a mobile first baseman.
And
let the second baseman get it.
Moving to his right, a right-hand thrower who's not mobile. That's not an easy play for him.
Well, we're seeing why I always say in the course of a 3-game series, you see why clubs are second division.
Tejada 1 for 2 tonight. Now has a 12-game hitting streak. And infield hit to deep short his last time up. Torres drew a 2-out walk. He's at third. Tolle at second, and Nice at first with 2 out.
Very shallow outfield defense.
And Tejada swinging over the changeup, 1-1.
Well, you can see the center fielder, Ruggiano and Stanton in right, very shallow, and if you look, Kearns even is in shallow.
Chad Godin up in the Marlins bullpen. Marlins have not won many games lately, and Ozzie Guillen's got a 4-0 lead. He's not going to wait long. Inside to Tejada, 2-1.
Well, the inning should be over. LeBlanc's got to put some more work in here.
As it go back to the changeup, that's his best pitch. Crucial situation, behind in the count. Tejada already swung over one.
Fastball.
Ruben takes a fastball, a borderline call, and it's 2-2.
That's some pain on the outside corner right there.
Gary Darling like this one.
Hey, that's too close to take.
By the way, he is not my cousin. So.
You were 4-1 with him behind the plate, by the way.
Really?
Yes. Here's the 2-2, and Tejada pops it up. Solano is there, and that retires the side. Mets leave him loaded in the 4th. We go to the 5th. It's 4-0 Miami.
Night, Mets looking to do some work, get back in this game against the Marlins. And Gary mentioned a moment ago about Garrett Olson this year, the lefty added, Elvin Ramirez demoted down to AAA, but also some tough news for the Mets and for Tim Byrdak specifically. Byrdak got an MRI in New York yesterday. He had some shoulder soreness, probably pitched with it for about a week or so, and he's had some injuries. Pitched through that. His knees have been bothering all year for the most part, but he's been dealing with it. Didn't think that it was anything major, but unfortunately the MRI showed otherwise yesterday. He's got an anterior capsule tear. That sounds familiar because 2 other Mets have already had that surgery, Johan Santana and Chris Young. And obviously it's a surgery that takes at least a year to recover from, depending on the case. And, Byrdak got here during the game, so we haven't talked to him or seen him yet. I assume he's going to address the media after the game. But you can only imagine what's going through his mind today. A guy that told me on Sunday that he didn't think it was anything big. He was hoping for maybe tendonitis and, get 15 days of rest and kind of come back strong. And, Byrdak's 38 years old, a lot going through his mind today. Guys, just remember, earlier in the year when we talked about Johan Santana, I talked to a couple of orthopedic doctors about it. That capsule, kind of like a golf tee and a ball, and the capsule is what holds all that in place. Without it, you don't have that structural stability. And Byrdak facing a very big decision for baseball and for life. So we'll talk to him likely after the game and on the post game for you to hear. Guys.
Byrdak has been leading the league in appearances all year long, and Terry Collins has been talking right from the beginning of the year that he had fear that he was overusing Byrdak. And when asked about it today, as Zambano hits one out to right field and Harrison is there, and that's the first out, Terry said bluntly there is no question that overuse caused Byrdak's injury. He said that's just the way it is.
Well, it's he's been more than a valuable player in that bullpen for a few seasons now, and he'll be missed. Whatever he decides to do.
56 appearances, more than half the games the Mets have played this year, as Ruggiano lines a base hit, and he's 2 for 3 on the night.
He just continues to hit.
Let's look at Jose Reyes' second at bat tonight.
It's interesting, and this at bat starts him out away for a ball. Free swinging Reyes, of course, going after it. That was a close pitch. That could have been a pitch for Nice. And of course, this was the second of bad luck for Nice. Just a little top roller up the line with Reyes' speed. Not going to get him.
Fastball strike to Jose, who's 1 for 2. Now has a 25-game hitting streak.
Well, you always come home and you want to do well against your opponents. I mean, I was booed by the St. Louis fans roundly, Ronnie. You remember that? And
felt bad for him.
But it was all right. I mean, just all it did for me was make me want to just be the star of the game and rip out around 4 RBIs and 4 hits and just play harder.
But you weren't hurt personally by the fact that you were booed in St. Louis.
There was other circumstances, surrounding circumstances.
I understand that, as that one in the dirt, the throw to second by Tolle, and arriving safely is Ruggiano. Good base running by Ruggiano to move up on a short wild pitch.
Did he move up on that, or was it like a delayed steal?
I thought it was a delayed steal,
which would be twice in a week.
We had the Everett Cabrera delayed steal to third in San Diego. And they're going to give him a stolen base, so I guess the scorer agrees. 9th stolen base for Ruggiano. 1-2 to Reyes. But I go back to Jose's comments about how surprised he was that he got booed during that first series. And right, that is the classic delayed steal.
Delayed steal. You take the secondary lead, a couple of hops, you wait for the catcher, but he could go earlier because the ball was in the dirt.
A perfect pitch to do it, and you can't predict that. A curveball in the dirt where the catcher is more focused on getting the ball.
3-2 to Reyes. I mean, there were plenty of cheers when Jose came back in April, but there were some people booing too, and I think a lot of that had to do with that last at bat as a Met when he got the bunt hit to secure the batting title and left the game. That kind of left a sour taste. Out to right center field, and over comes Torres. And Ruggiano will hold at second, 2 out. But for him to expect to get nothing but universal adulation coming back to New York, I thought was strange. And then he said he thought he'd get a better reception this series.
Sometimes it's better just to keep your mouth shut.
Now Carlos Lee with the runner at second and 2 out. Carlos drove in the first Marlins run in that 4-run fourth inning with a single to left. Of course, you had a little different return to St. Louis this past weekend.
Yes, they had the 30th anniversary of the 1982 World Championship, and they scheduled it with the Brewers in town. They played with our old polyester uniforms on, and the Brewers played with their old uniforms in '82. They paraded us around in the warning track around the field and in trucks and let us off at home plate, lined us down the first base line.
But those are the road uniforms they wore at home, right?
We wore our whites. I wanted to wear the powder blues. But Garrett, we got a warm reception. I got a warm reception. I mean, that's all been rehabilitated. And I'll say one thing. The person that really helped me in St. Louis more than anybody else was Jack Buck, the late Jack Buck, who was the radio TV announcer for the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Famer. He did more, and I have friends that lived there and told me what he was doing on the air and things that he was saying. So, you know, Jack was a wonderful man.
Nice takes care of Lee with that backdoor cutter. Third strikeout for Nice. Halfway through, 4-0 Miami. If a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DIRECT-TV. Daniel Murphy takes inside as we start the bottom of the fifth. Murphy 1 for 2, single to left, fly to center. Wade LeBlanc trying to get 3 outs to qualify for a win. Came up short of that goal in his first start for the Marlins, going 4 1/3, allowing just 1 run.
Murph hitting .305 on the year. He dropped out of the top 10.
Drive in the air to deep right field. Back goes Stanton, looking up, and it's out of here. Daniel Murphy, with just his 4th home run of the season, gets the Mets on the board. It's now 4-1.
Well, his first 3 home runs were all against right-handers. This is his first against a lefty, and it's up and in fastball.
And for Murph, his first home run at Citi Field this season.
Wanted away. See him set up away. Where'd it go? Oh, right down the middle, right in the wheelhouse, and Murph made him pay. Helicopter. Yes, sir.
Well, that's going to be all for Wade LeBlanc. 85 pitches, his limit. And so the Marlins will go to the bullpen. This call to the bullpen brought to you by Verizon Wireless. Win Mets memorabilia from Verizon at Mets.com/Verizon Sweeps. That leaves before the 5 innings where he can qualify for a win. Chad Godin on in relief.
Well, they haven't got LeBlanc up to where he can throw 100 pitches coming out of that bullpen. Chad Godin has been their long man all season long. 13 times out of his 28 appearances, he's gone 2 or more innings. 6 times, 3 or more innings.
Godin now with his 8th big league team, and David Wright takes a fastball for a strike. David's 1 for 2, a bloop single in the 3rd, snapping an 0 for 13 skid. Mets have had 6 hits. Just scored their first run on Daniel Murphy's first home run at Citi Field in more than a year. Go back to July 16th of last year. Murphy hit one off Cole Hamels, and now more than a year later, his next run also comes off a lefty. Godin runs it inside, 2-1. And saw Godin in a Washington Nationals uniform last year. Picked up by the Marlins, and he's been with them all year. Bouncing ball. Godin with good athleticism to go up and get it. He's only 5'10". Here's your Kia 5th inning recap. Marlins scoring 4 runs in the 4th off John Neese. John Beck with a big blow, an opposite field 2-run double. Daniel Murphy's home run getting the Mets on the board. Trust us. It's there.
We're expecting a crooked number.
Oh, so they're holding out. They're not going to put the number in until it's done.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Here's Scott Hairston, who's 0 for 2. A pop foul and a strikeout. Now facing the right-hander Godin for the first time. And he takes the fastball off the plate. So LeBlanc went 4 innings plus, 1 run, 6 hits, 2 walks, 4 strikeouts, 85 pitches. So a chance for a Marlins reliever to get themselves a victory.
Oh, good rip on a hanger. Boy, he does not get cheated. Look at this. Oh, what a pitch to hit.
And the breaking ball puts Hairston in the hole 1-2.
Took a little off of that slider and put it in a much better location, Ronnie.
Jason Bay on deck.
Interesting, the center fielder playing towards right center against Scott Hairston. Maybe against the right-hander. You were talking about it before that he's been trying to use the opposite field a little more to keep the defense honest.
Did that successfully in that series in Arizona that started the last road trip. Hairston and Bay hitting 4 and 5 tonight with the lefty starting. Mets are scheduled to face 2 right-handers the last 2 games of this series. Nathan Eovaldi tomorrow night, Josh Johnson Thursday afternoon. Dan runs it inside 2-2. And there are magically your city probables for the remainder of the series. Chris Young coming off a great start his last time out goes tomorrow night. R.A. Dickey, who pitched very well in a losing cause in San Diego, goes Thursday afternoon. It's a noontime start on Thursday. Which one of you gentlemen gets to wake up early?
Time. Ronnie.
What?
Hey,
you don't do day games after night games anymore?
You're younger than me.
Okay, I got it. My commute's a little better too.
Well, Hairston's had some long at bats tonight. He had an 11-pitch extravaganza his first time up tonight.
It's really a good approach he's had on the right-handers going the other way. The hook on Scott is he's a dead red fastball hitter, up hitter. So they're going to throw him breaking stuff. Where's the breaking ball going to be? On the outside corner. So why not look out there?
8th pitch of the at bat, and Hairston takes strike 3 called. He didn't think so. As Godin found the outside corner with that slider.
I thought this was a good pitch.
I did.
Think it was down?
No, it's not down. I thought that it nipped black. I think it'll show it here. Oh yeah, it's a strike. You can't throw in a better spot.
So 2 out and nobody on for Godin after Murphy led off the inning with the home run against LeBlanc. And now Jason Bay, who's 0 for 2, lined out to left field his last time up. Mentioned Cole Hamels, last home run victim at Citi Field for Daniel Murphy. Hamels pitching a gem tonight against the Braves, 3-0 in the 7th. It's been a little uneven for Cole since he signed that new contract extension.
Well, Ben Sheets with another gem last night.
How about that? What a story.
And he pitched into the 8th inning.
Well, he's been a shot in the arm to that Brave run they've been going through right now. And he's given nothing but quality start sheets.
As deep in the scrap heap as most teams will ever go. Slow ground ball foul.
What was the surgery that he had? He's had so many. I think was it his elbow? I'm not sure.
The most recent was his elbow, but he's had everything. Part.
The announcer for the Braves last night, I was listening, said he was a low risk, high rewards kind of signing. And he's only seen the rewards so far.
Bay rips one into left field for a base hit. So Jason hits it hard for the 2nd straight at bat. And he's aboard with a 2-out single. And now Ike Davis is going to bat for Ronnie Cedeno. SNY Super Slow Motion brought to you by your Mercedes Tri-State dealer. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. So with the right-hander in the game, Terry Collins will roll out Ike Davis, and then Murphy will move to 2nd.
Well, in the hopes of one swing, 4-3 ball game. 20 home runs for Ike.
Davis went 4 for 13 in the series in San Diego. And he grounds one down the left field side for a base hit. They turn 2nd, now advances to 3rd. And the Mets have runners at the corners with 2 out. And with Green playing way off the line. Davis taking it the other way.
Well, I always felt you get beat more in the hole. This is right down the middle, and Ike was really intent on going the other way.
When's the last time you saw him with that kind of left field focus?
Wow.
Because he clearly was trying to go that way.
He's been pulling all year.
Yeah.
Look at Ozzie.
So the Mets get the tying run to bat. It's been a beleaguered season for Ozzie, hasn't it? And he doesn't hide his emotions very well. Andres Torres 0 for 1 and a walk. It comes up from what has been his weaker side this year for the first time. Hitting just 181 as a left-hand batter. Mets now have 8 hits, but they've managed just 1 run, and that was on a home run by Murphy. Mets have left 7 runners in the first 4 innings. Ball and a strike to Torres. Day with a 2-out hit. Davis following suit. And Torres bounces one through the hole and a right of base hit. Day comes in to score. 3 straight 2-out hits for New York, and it cuts the Marlins lead to 4-2.
Well,
Torres puts one in play and finds a hole.
Well, Caballo over at first. Carlos Lee, not a first baseman, does not come off the bag at all to cover the hole. And that's a nice hitting right there. You got a first baseman. Circle change. Right down the middle. Not where you want it. And you see Carlos Lee like anchored on first base, but he's not a first baseman, so.
So now the tying runs are on base in a 4-2 game. Josh Tolley is coming up. Josh was robbed of a hit on a terrific play by Nick Green to throw him out in the second, and then he lined one the other way for a base hit in the 4th. Randy St. Clair, the longtime Marlins pitching coach, out to talk with his reliever Godin.
After being the longtime Washington Nationals and before that the Montreal Expos franchise pitching coach. Ozzie is always like that, but just sometimes he expresses it.
So now Tolley up with 2 out and 2 on. Mets continue to hit with runners in scoring position, particularly with 2 out. And a chance to add to it for Tolley. And it goes to the backstop, and that will advance the runners to second and third. A wild pitch charge to Godin. Now John Neese is out on deck, but you have to believe if they were to walk Tolley that you'd see a pinch hitter here, although there's nobody up in the Mets bullpen. Neese was allowed to bat with 2 out and 2 on in the 4th. Nick Baxter bat in hand. 1-0 to Tolley with first base open. Tying runs in scoring position and 2 out. And Tolley watches the fastball down, 2-0. Brian Webb getting up in the Marlins bullpen. Godin retired his first 2 hitters after coming on in relief here in the 5th, but now has given up 3 straight hits and a wild pitch. And Tolley takes it wide, and it's 3-0. And again, there's nobody throwing in the Mets bullpen, so it would appear that Terry Collins is locked into having Neese come to bat again. Worked out for him the last time he came up with an infield hit. And Tolley takes a strike, 3-1.
Look at that outfield defense. This is what we've been seeing a lot with Josh. I mean, the left fielder way over and in shallow. Look at the center fielder. I mean, I wouldn't play Josh this shallow. I'd give him a little more depth in my outfield.
And he walked him, and the bases are loaded for Neese. So 3 hits and a walk issued by Godin after 2 out. And now John Neese gets a chance to do some damage. Reached on an infield hit on what was clearly a bad call in the 4th inning. He's driven in 2 runs this year. He has 8 hits. Bases loaded, 2 out.
And again, the same defense that they played for Tolley, the same outfield defense for Nice. And I tell you what, I would not play this shallow with Nice with the bases loaded. Nice can hit one right into that left center field gap.
Good cut, and he fouls back the fastball 0-2.
Jonathan does not get cheated up there. He takes a good, healthy cut.
You know, Keith, this is what happens when you prove yourself over the course of the year. They can handle the bat. Second to R.A. Dickey in hits. Sometimes keeps you in a ball game.
And John has been regularly going deep into games, and he'll get the opportunity to do that again tonight. Breaking ball, strike 3 called, and Godin gets Nice to end the inning. But the Mets get closer. They score a couple. Daniel Murphy leading off the 5th inning with his first Citi Field home run in more than a year. His 4th home run of the year. Torres adds an RBI hit, and it's now 4-2 Miami after 5. SNY is presented by Citi. Welcome to Citi Tuesdays, where Citi credit and debit card holders enjoy savings and benefits at Citi Field. Learn more at Mets.com/Citi Tuesdays. Ike Davis stays in at first base. Daniel Murphy moves to second as John Nice works on Giancarlo Stanton to start the 6th inning. Stanton delivered a sacrifice fly his last time up. Torres made a great play to save an extra base hit.
His last at bat, Keith. He's quite a powerful hitter.
Oh boy. 3 straight fastballs. Then the old hangage.
There's a good curveball by Nice, and it's 1-2. So Nice allowed to stay in and bat for himself in the 4th and again in the 5th. With the Mets trying to stage a comeback. And there's strike 3 called, and Stanton is caught looking for the first out. That's 4 strikeouts for John.
I mean, I don't know how many innings we got to play. Every hitter is complaining about the ball that's called a strike down. I think that Gary Darling has established that the ball in the knees is going to be called a strike.
That's Neha.
So Stanton has struck out for the 2nd time, and now Austin Kearns is 2 for 2. Single to center, single to right center. And the first pitch curveball hammered down to 3rd, and a nice backhand pick by Wright for the 2nd out. So 2 out and nobody on. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin has this game break. Looking forward to seeing Chris and Bobby out at the ballpark tomorrow.
Are they going to do their pregame, pre and post here?
Doing it from up in the Pepsi porch where we're doing the game.
Nice.
Here's Nick Green with 2 out, and he takes a strike. Green is flying to right, popped to short, 0 for 2. Now Nice has got 11 straight starts now where he's pitched at least 6 innings. And that's pulled over the bag, and base hit for Green. Bay tracks it toward the line, and Green will move to second with a 2-out double. Hit number 8 for the Marlins against John Nice. And let's see how careful he is this time with the number 8 hitter.
Keith, with 2 outs, explain to me why David would play even with the bag with Nick Green up. Is that a defensive thing? There's Zambano up in the Zambano.
You could. I always love it if you're going to show that he might bunt. Then just pitcher goes in the windup. The hitter's focus is going to be on the pitcher.
This time the Mets will intentionally walk John Buck after he burned them with a 2-out, 2-run double with first base open in the 4th inning.
So my feeling, Ronnie, is you back up when the pitcher goes in his windup because the hitter's focus is on picking up the ball out of hand, and particularly a right-hand hitter. You can back up. I'm sorry, Gary.
Hernandez is the pinch hitter on deck. I really apologize for interrupting.
No, that was my fault.
A person named Hernandez.
Oh,
I thought you'd enjoy that.
Gorky's is Spanish for Keith.
Isn't that a town in Russia? Jeez.
Yeah, see, I don't think David can make that play if he's back anyway because it's right on the line. But I just want to know, it's just interesting that if Green tries to bunt for a base hit there, to me, he's not a guy who has speed and can steal second.
Right.
Who cares?
I agree.
Well, we mentioned that Nice has made 11 straight starts now where he's gone at least 6 innings, and one of the really great things about that is that in all 11 of those starts he's walked 2 or less.
And he wasn't very good in the beginning of the year, so that is a great improvement. You know what happens there, guys, is that when the starting pitcher and catcher go over the lineup for the day, when Acosta gets ready, they'll only do the 8 hitters and not the pitcher. So that was the scouting report by Worthing for Gorky Hernandez, who we saw early in the year with the Pittsburgh
Came
Pirates.
over from the Pirates in the trade for Gabby Sanchez, and hasn't hit much for the Marlins. Flies this one down the right field side, and that'll go out of play, a foul ball.
It's more of a, it's known for being a great defensive player, this Hernandez.
Well, he's 1 for 5 as a pinch hitter. That one pinch hit had 2 RBI in it, and boy, it's been a struggle for him. You don't want to see that 0.54 batting average up there on the board, and that's down there in the depths of Mortar.
And Hernandez swinging at the cutter, and it's 0-2. Gorky Hernandez, just 24 years old, but he's already been involved in a number of high-profile trades. Started out in the Tigers organization, was traded for Jair Jurgens, went from the Braves to the Pirates in the deal for Nate McLouth, and then coming over to the Marlins in the deal for Gabby Sanchez. And he grounds this one down to right, who has the force play at third to end the inning. So Nice gets through 6 for the 12th straight start. Now the Mets will try and continue to come from behind with the top of the order coming up in the bottom of the 6th.
From the sixth, and the recently demoted Carlos Zambano from the starting rotation of the bullpen in relief for Ozzie Guillen and the Fish right here. As we look at these Marlins, who are, arguably the most disappointing team in the game this year for all the things they did in the offseason, all the expectations that they had. I talked to Greg Dobbs, who's mainstay on their bench, certainly a veteran leader type, and he's been around. And, he talked about, the thing is with losing is that it's hard enough to lose, but it's not the expectations that others had on us. It was our expectations that make it even more difficult. You come in here, we thought we had the goods for sure. And, then to top it off, we weren't getting it done. We had a great May. June was awful. And then the trade deadline came, and bam, and you look at it. And it's walking into that clubhouse today, guys. Boy, was it different. I mean, there's a lot of names that have certainly been in the Marlins organization, like Brian Peterson and Scott Cousins, but it was a much different clubhouse and a much different feel from the last time they came in here, which was Reyes's return to New York. I think, what Dobbs says, we were trying to find our identity as it was, but now we're really trying to find it, not only now, but for the future of the organization, which I thought was an interesting point. What is the identity of the Miami Marlins right now going forward, guys?
I think it's very much in limbo at this point, having built it up and torn it down in such a short period of time. Carlos Zambano, who was part of their build-up during the offseason, recently moved to the bullpen. This is his fourth relief outing after being pulled from the rotation.
Well, you were talking about in the pregame, Keith, all the people that have been traded away. But to me, it just signals that you're going to have players like Reyes who can run in a big ballpark and build it around the park that no one can hold his home runs, and Mike Stanton or Giancarlo Stanton.
Tejada tonight 1 for 3, had an infield hit in the third to extend his hitting streak to 12 games. Daniel Murphy, who homered his last time up on deck, and then David Wright. Mets were down 4-0, got 2 in the fifth. Now facing Zambano, the third Miami pitcher of the night. And a full count to Tejada. Strike 3 called. Zambano painting the outside corner to get Tejada for the first out.
Well, just a perfect pitch. Fastball away on the corner, taken for a called third strike. Hey, Kev, the one thing that's interesting, though, now that you start to make it in these clubhouses and there's teams that are winning and teams that are losing, teams that are fighting, is it palpable when you go in there, the teams that are in it?
I think it is. I can feel it. I mean, not necessarily all the time, Ronnie, and it depends. Sometimes guys will lighten the mood, depending on what a team is going through when you're not around a team every day. But I think you could definitely feel it. And I think it also depends on the type clubhouse that it is. When talking to Dobbs today, he said, the one thing is when all these moves were made, one of my messages to the guys is stay focused. You still got to come in here, do your job, and win games. Stay focused on that. I always example like for the Braves. Every time I go in that clubhouse, even when Chipper's been hurt.
Murphy hits it out to left center, and back goes Ruggiano to make the play. 2 out.
I've always felt like it was his team, and I've always felt that there was a certain level of a certain bar set by him in that clubhouse. So I think there is a vibe that is palpable. I really do.
David Wright is 1 for 3.
I didn't play on many losing teams, but the ones I did play on, starts to get a little dicey late in the year.
This time of year is a tough one, too. You can't wait to get into September. You've got a whole lot of August left.
They don't call it the dog days of August for nothing. But we've seen that with this Mets team. I mean, it was a flawless clubhouse the first half of the year. And his Wright fouls it off, and there have been some cracks in that veneer over the last month as things have gone the other way.
Well, you get angry when you are not doing the things you did before, and guys are starting to nitpick certain things. Can't allow that to happen, but it does happen.
Wright drives one to left. Kearns moves over and snags it to end the inning. So Zambano comes in, pitches a 1-2-3 6th. On to the 7th we go. 4-2 Miami. Syracuse, Mets prospect Zach Wheeler made his first AAA start. Started out extremely well, faded a little bit, went 4 2/3, allowed 2 runs, 3 hits, 4 walks, 7 strikeouts.
He had to be pitching on an extra day because the day before it was rained out. Everyone who sees this kid pitch, although we didn't see it here in the VO we had, but says that live arm, great fastball, great numbers this year. You know, walks have been a problem early in his minor league career. They've gotten better.
Yeah.
Bobby Parnell on in relief for the Mets as we go to the 7th.
I was asked by a scout who was a member of the '82 Cardinals when I was in St. Louis, Gene Roof, who had scouted Wheeler and said, "Boy, what about this kid Wheeler? I saw him pitch 2 games at Binghamton, and he looks great." I go, "Well, we like him."
Donovan Solano is 0 for 3 tonight. Interesting that Nice came out of the game after 6. So the Mets got 1 more inning out of him after not pinch hitting in the bottom of the 5th. Solano lifts one to right. Hairston over to the sidewall. And can't get to it. Foul ball.
It's just so difficult to play down there. I mean, unless you go into a slide, it's really impossible to make that catch. Not impossible, but you know what I'm saying. There's not a lot of room there.
It's handcrafted.
Wow. That's the biggest font I've ever seen on a bat for someone's name. I mean, it's not exactly like he's been in the league for 10 years.
Well,
I mean,
so he needs people to know who he is.
Oh, okay. Jeez.
Oh, broken bat grounder, right with the charge and the toss to get Solano 1 out.
No handcraft that one.
I mean, if you're Albert Pujols, you don't have to have the big font because everybody knows who you are.
I don't care what the font is now. That's firewood.
Donovan Solano with half a font.
That's what I always loved about it. Was only Louisville Slugger and Adirondack, right?
Yeah.
Adirondack had your name printed. Louisville was your signature.
Scripted.
Well, this is getting sawed off. Right. Oh boy. Wow. And there is a recoil when you get sawed off like that, folks.
You know, certainly not with that bat, but wasn't there a day that if you had a hot bat and it had just a little tiny fracture that you'd have to tape it or even sometimes maybe put a screw in? Or
no? I'd get rid of it. What I would stay with the bat longer if it flaked in the barrel.
Oh, okay.
By flaking, folks, how do I explain that? The barrel of the bat along the grain towards the edges, the underside or top side, it could flake. Boy, you'd do anything to mend that if that bat had hits in it. And try to just nurse it along.
Could have got your own bat bag. Maybe that would have been better. Keep it out of the climates.
Either that or they might get sawed in half. Check swing foul by Ruggiano. Interesting that Terry Collins took a trip to the mound after that broken bat grounder. Not a normal thing to see. But he had something to say and went out and sent it to Parnell. One and two to Ruggiano, who's 2 for 3 tonight, and Parnell throws him the curveball, and he just gets a piece.
You know, the one thing he has been preaching to Bobby through Dan Worthen is that he needs to pitch in more, and that result of a broken bat can get a better result than that.
Maybe that's what he was going out to do, a little positive reinforcement.
Yeah. Coming back in. Oh.
John Nice wound up throwing 96 pitches in 6 innings, gave up 4 runs on 8 hits, an intentional walk, 4 strikeouts, and a hit by pitch. All 4 runs coming in the 4th inning. Reyes on deck. And Ruggiano bounces one for Tejada to handle. And quickly Parnell has 2 outs. Get a preview of tomorrow's Mets-Marlins Game 2 matchup with insider info and exclusive interviews, plus heated debate on the latest New York sports news on Daily News Live, Wheelhouse, and Loudmouths, all part of the New York Sports Local, weekdays starting at 5, only on SNY. Now Jose Reyes up for the 4th time, up left-handed for the first time in the game, and he's been a much better left-hand hitter than right this year. Reyes extended his hitting streak with a 40-foot dribbler up the first baseline. Nice made a nice play, but his throw was alleged to have pulled Murphy off the bag, and so Reyes got an infield hit out of it. That extended his hitting streak to 25 straight games. 1 for 3 on the night. And Parnell bouncing the breaking ball, and it's 2-1. And Reyes fouls off the 98-mile-an-hour fastball, 2-2.
Every pitch that's been inside has been effective for Parnell.
Ooh, that last one earning him the Cholula flamethrower.
Ronnie, when you get up early for that Thursday game, I think you should try it on your omelet.
I should.
Yes.
Does 98 taste good going down?
At least it does.
Mike Dunn, the lone left-hander in the Miami bullpen, getting ready. 3-2 to Reyes with 2 out. And Parnell gets him swinging with the high fastball. So Parnell sets him down 1-2-3. Change of game plan for Bobby worked out nicely. Still 4-2. A game that has always eluded me. I don't know about you guys.
No. Who?
Terrible ball
Oh,
player.
that's my game.
Really? See,
Yeah.
now you can't hustle anybody now that you've revealed.
Left-handed too.
Really?
Yeah.
You do anything else left-handed?
I do. Yeah. I'm going to learn how to golf left-handed pretty soon. I'll tell you that.
Carlos Zambano working his 2nd inning, gets even on Scott Hairston, who's gone down looking each of his last 2 at bats. Final in Philadelphia tonight. Phillies beat the Braves 3-0 behind Cole Hamels.
Did he go all the way?
He did.
I like to see that.
111 pitches, no walks, 5 hits, 6 strikeouts for Hamels tonight. Jason Bay and Ike Davis to follow for the Mets in the home 7th. And Hairston takes the breaking ball for a strike, 1-2. Also tonight, the Cincinnati Reds, who are tied with Washington for the best record in baseball, have not had a base runner the first 5 innings against Milwaukee's Mike Fiers. Perfect through 5. Ooh. Tied him up. Just missed. 3-2. Bays hit the ball hard twice in a row. He's on deck. 3-2 to Hairston, and he walked him. And the Mets will get the tying run to the plate in the bottom of the 7th.
Well, but so Gary, you were mentioning that Terry Collins went out after the first out for Bobby Parnell. Back having another discussion. Wasn't it interesting having a discussion in front of everyone? Totally listening. Goodwin listening. Orton listening to the conversation. Pretty animated by Terry and Bobby.
Aerial coverage brought to you by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Now Bay, who's 1 for 3 on the night, and takes a strike from Zambrano. Bay has had great numbers against Zambrano. 15 for 44. That's a .341 average with 5 home runs. And Jason takes high, ball and a strike. Let's check in with Kevin.
That type of thing is exactly what Terry Collins said to Jason Bay after batting practice today, Gary. He said, I'm going to put you in situations where I think you have a chance to have great success. You know, he said Bay's been so down, his confidence is so low, hard to fight out of it. He said, I'm going to run him out there against lefties, and historically, guys he's done well against, he's going to be in there.
Well, Terry was really hoping for a big day for Jason on Sunday because of his history against Jason Marquis. Didn't quite work out that way, but he's got very similar numbers against Zambrano.
Well, his numbers against Zambrano, remember too, when Zambrano was in his heyday when he was with the Pittsburgh Pirates.
You know, Keith, even if that's the case as a hitter, is it just knowing that you did that against that particular guy that gives you confidence? I mean, does that work?
Kevin, I'm telling you, everybody's different. Jason right now can't feel very confident at the plate. He's just deeply mired. I got to feel that it's a big equalizer here.
Breaking ball popped up. Solano out to make the call. And that's the first out of the inning.
It also can be extremely demoralizing if you're only put in situations against people that you have great numbers against and you don't produce.
Now Ike Davis, who came up as a pinch hitter in the 5th, had a base hit. Ozzie Guillen has his lone lefty in the bullpen, Mike Dunn, up, and he'll bring him in here to face Ike. 4-2 Miami in the 7th. We'll come right back to Citi Field. of the 7th. And the left-hander Mike Dunn will come in for Miami.
You know, that aerial view right there is really a great picture of how they brought the fences in, isn't it? You can really see the configuration all the way around the ballpark.
Wow. The older black fences and the new blue ones in front. Ike Davis up for the second time, had a base hit as a pinch hitter in the 5th. Now up against the left-hander Dunn, whom he's faced only once, 0 for 1. Tying run at the plate in a 4-2 game. Marlins rolling out their 4th pitcher of the night. The starter Wade LeBlanc went just 4 innings plus. And Davis takes up and in for ball 1.
Well, you saw the numbers on Dunn. 30 innings pitched, 20 walks, and that's been his problem. He's a big, hard thrower.
And up and down from the minor leagues 3 separate times this year because of that. And Davis hits one in the air to center. Ruggiano right there waiting for it. Hairston tagging at first, but he's going nowhere, and that's the second out. So 2 out. Hairston still at first, and now Andres Torres, who will swing back around to the right side. Had a base hit to drive in a run in the 5th inning when the Mets scored both of their runs. 1 for 2 and a walk tonight. Mets have left 9 runners on base already tonight. They've had 9 hits. They've drawn 4 walks. Another one of those games where they just can't turn base runners into runs. And Torres takes the breaking ball for a strike. Josh Thole waits on deck. And Torres cracks one toward the middle, but Solano had him played perfectly, and they get the force play to end the inning. A walk and 1 left. We go to the 8th at Citi Field. The Marlins still with a 4-2 lead. Catch the game in the SNY Suite at Citi Field on September 12th. All proceeds will benefit the high school basketball teams playing in the 2013 SNY Invitational. Bid today at sny.tv/ charity auction. Manny Acosta comes in to pitch the 8th inning for New York.
Well, see his numbers and a couple of times of duty here. High ERA. Strikeouts per inning, though, just 1 per inning.
Pitched in Sunday's game in San Diego. Issued a leadoff walk, but worked around that. Carlos Lee leads off in the 8th inning and takes a fastball for a strike. Bobby Parnell worked a 1-2-3 7th after John Neese went the first 6. Had the one bad inning in the 4th that cost him 4 runs. And the Mets have been trying to fight uphill ever since. And Lee takes the breaking ball for a strike, and it's 0-2.
Listen, every inning is important when you're pitching, of course, but you don't like to see what happened in San Diego. You know, they got it close, and a couple of late runs put it out of the way, put the game in harm's way. So this is a very important inning for Acosta. Keep it at 4-2, bloop and a blast, you can get back in the ball game. Faces some good hitters.
Giancarlo Stanton on deck, then Austin Kearns, right-hand hitters all. But the Mets keep the lefty busy in the bullpen in case Ozzie Guillen goes to one of his left-hand pinch hitters, particularly Greg Dobbs, who sits there as the prime left-handed bat off the bench. Lee is 1 for 3 tonight. Drove in the first Miami run with a base hit in the 4th. And he goes down swinging. So Acosta fans the first man to face him. Heath Bell is up in the Miami bullpen. Now working the 8th inning. Let's check in with the studio. Chris Carlin has this game break.
Well, I tell you what, Espinosa's done a good job for them of lighting up to a bad start.
Yep.
He's turned it on. It's funny
since they moved to shortstop.
There you go. I was just going to say that. More comfortable.
Giancarlo Stanton struck out twice at a sacrifice fly.
Well, this is the strikeout pitch from Neese earlier in the ball game against Stanton. On the knees, outside corner.
Caught him looking. Got him looking. Set up.
Meanwhile, in Milwaukee, Mike Fiers now has a perfect game through 6 against the Cincinnati Reds. Milwaukee with a 2-0 lead. Fastball just off the plate. 3-1 to Stanton. Stanton's first game coming back off knee surgery. Austin Kearns on deck. And it's fouled back.
Oh boy.
Breaking ball up from Acosta.
Oh man, did he get away with that? Just backed up enough inside.
3-2 from Acosta, and it's hit in the air to center field, chasing Torres back, but he'll have room. 2 out. So Acosta throwing breaking balls on 3-1 and 3-2 to Stanton, and getting the fly ball.
Well, that's why you should never complain if you're a pitcher and you make a good pitch and the guy gets a base hit off the end of the bat, because sometimes you get outs with bad pitches too.
You mean it's not just one mistake?
No. No. Although, what did Tom Seaver say? I think he said if he had a real great game, made maybe 2-3 mistakes.
Right. I was stunned.
Yep.
I believe him.
Me too.
Tomorrow night, game 2 of this series will be up in the Pepsi porch as the Mets take on the Marlins. Chris Young goes for the Mets. Nathan Eovaldi, the former Dodger who came over in the Hanley Ramirez deal, will pitch for Florida, Miami. How many times have I said Florida already?
That's all right.
Here's the 0-1. That's a good breaking ball by Acosta.
It's not like Shea and City. You know, the import is not the same.
But it says Miami right on their uniform. It should be a dead giveaway. Acosta trying to put this inning to bed. 0-2 to Kearns. And he goes low and away. Nick Green would be next. The Marlins 4 runs, 8 hits. The Mets 2 runs and 9 hits. And Kearns goes down on the fastball. A very impressive inning for Manny Acosta with a couple of punch outs. Mets will come up in the bottom of the 8th, down 4-2. For tonight, this date in 1963, who became the first Mets player to hit for the cycle. Well, we were paying attention earlier this year when Scott Hairston hit for his cycle. We probably told you that night that Jim Hickman was the first ever to do it.
I love that we're giving the answer quickly. It's the anti-Google. You got to know it right away or too bad.
I was 9 years old that summer. Wearing out Little League, I tell you that.
No, that's just... Well, I'm glad for you. Glad you ruined some young 9-year-old's career.
Josh Tolle leads off the bottom of the 8th against Mike Dunn. Tolle had a base hit back in the 4th. He's also drawn a walk tonight, 1 for 2. Dunn came in to get the final 2 outs in the 7th. And Tolle lays off. A ball and a strike. Justin Turner out on deck to pinch hit for the pitcher. Mets were down 4-0 after the Marlins scored 4 runs in the 4th. Murphy hit a home run. Torres drove in a run in the 5th to get the Mets within 2, but the Mets have left 10 runners on base tonight. 2 balls and a strike to Tolle. Heath Bell staying busy in the bullpen. Probably see him when Turner's announced as the pinch hitter. Good fastball by Dunn, 2-2 to Tolle. John Roush busy in the Mets bullpen, getting ready to pitch the top of the 9th. Two from Dunn, and Tolle down swinging for the first out of the inning. So 1 out and nobody on. Justin Turner announces the pinch hitter. We'll check in with Gary Apple in the studio. What's up on Sports Night?
Gary, thanks so much. Coming up, Jets got into another fight at training camp today, and you know what? There is another football team in this town. They just so happen to have won the Super Bowl, and the Giants got some good news. See you tonight, guys.
All right, Gary, and now Ozzie Guillen on his way to the mound with Turner announces the pinch hitter. He'll bring Heath Bell into the game to face him, so Dunn did his job. Faced 3 batters, got them all, and now the former Met Bell will come in to try to protect a 4-2 lead. We'll be right back. by your Mercedes-Benz Tri-State dealers. Visit them on the web at searchmercedes.com. The former Marlins closer, now 8th inning man, Heath Bell, comes on.
Well, he got his big contract because over the last 3+ seasons, he's had 151 saves. That's the most in the major leagues. But you see the right-handed hitters are wearing him out.
And the Mets will have a right-handed bat up against him. As Bell enters with 1 out in the 8th. Turner had a great road trip, 4 hits and 8 at bats, and he takes up and in for ball 1.
Well, the last time that we saw them, we haven't seen the Marlins for a while. Remember, Heath Bell had that game here where he could not get the breaking ball over. Had no idea where his curve was going.
Wound up walking 4 in an inning and handing the Mets a win. Fastball strike to Turner. Mets swept 3 from the Marlins when they were here in April. Bell has lost his closer's job. Ozzie Guillen now using Steve Cishek in that role, and Cishek's gone 5 for 5 since taking it over. Heath Bell, 34 years old, got a 3-year deal with the Marlins. And a borderline strike, 2-2. Ruben Tejada on deck. Daniel Murphy would be behind him as the Mets try and rally here in the 8th.
You know, Justin Turner, very quietly with diminished play, has had himself a pretty good year, let me tell you, so far.
A valued asset off the bench. He goes down swinging here on the fastball, and that's the 2nd out of the inning.
A pretty good 2 years. Some guys, when you have 1+ year, when you think about it, fastball just by him.
And right into his strength too, Ron. You can see he's set up to go away. He just beat him.
So 2 out and nobody on there. Ruben Tejada in Milwaukee. Zach Cozart double leading off the 7th inning to break up the perfect game bid of Mike Fiers. Milwaukee up 2-0 in the 7th. Tejada 1 for 4 tonight. He struck out twice. An infield hit and popped up. And hits the first pitch on the ground to third. Green makes the play, and so Bell comes in and gets the 2 outs he's asked to get. We head for the 9th inning. It's 4-2 Miami. Brought to you by Hyundai. New Hyundai owners are talking about their cars in the booth. By State Farm. Today's State Farm agent of the game is Pat Cawley of Glendale. Contact Pat's office at patcawley.org. And by Dunkin' Donuts, America runs on Dunkin'. John Roush on to pitch the top of the ninth for New York.
Well, John's been pitching awfully better lately, especially since he had both of his knees drained twice. Once before the All-Star break and once after. After that, it's been very effective.
Mets have gotten 2 perfect innings from their bullpen already tonight. Parnell in the 7th, Acosta in the 8th. Now Roush trying to keep it a 2-run game in the 9th with Nick Green leading off. Green is 1 for 3 in his first start for the Marlins. Double to left his last time up. And he fouls off the first pitch from Roush. 0-1. John Buck on deck. Steve Cishek, who's been closing for the Marlins, getting up in their bullpen. Totally rattled by that last foul.
Oh, it's off the show. Oh, boy. That got bicep. A lot of times they have that little flap that'll go over the real shoulder bone, but not today.
Jeremy Hefner getting in some work in the Mets bullpen. Hefner now the long man for the Mets, with Johan Santana coming back into the rotation. Hefner did quite a job filling in, particularly that last start. Fly ball out to center, and Torres has it lined up. Green retired, 1 away. In Pittsburgh, Chris Johnson just hit a 3-run homer in the top of the 8th for the Diamondbacks, who go in front of Pittsburgh 7-4.
Boy, what a nice acquisition he's been over from Houston. His first game hit a grand slam, and now a big 3-run home run.
Remember when he was tearing up the league a couple of years ago early in the season?
He had an ugly swing, too.
Then they started spinning the baseball.
He had a very peculiar swing. I don't know how he was doing it, and it caught up with him. I mean, it was a peculiar swing. That is the perfect adjective. It's hard to swing that way. I don't know who taught him how to swing that way.
There's John Buck, who has the biggest hit in this game. An opposite field 2-run double in the 4th inning. That's pitched to Buck with first base open. Neese hung a first pitch curveball and lived to pay for it. 1-1 to Buck. Next time up, Buck came up, 2 out, first base open. They walked him intentionally. Greg Dobbs on deck to pinch hit for Heath Bell, with Cishek ready to come on and pitch the bottom of the 9th.
That's been the big key to me turning Roush's season around, Ron, and that was, I know I said it before, that Tampa Bay series down in Tampa. He started throwing his fastball. He still throws hard.
He wasn't throwing 92 earlier in the season, but it's there now. It's a big hit for Buck.
Hanger. And that would hang on the inner half of the plate, and he just kind of inside outed it to right field.
Austin Kearns just beating the tag of Tolley for the second run on that play. That made it 4-0 at the time.
You know, there used to be a day that you wouldn't slide like that, Gary. You had to do the hook slide because the catchers would immediately put their knee guard right in front of the plate. So if you did that, you had risk of breaking your ankle. But now the plate is always open to the guy sliding, 90% of the time.
Nobody was better at that than Mike Scioscia.
Johnny Bench was pretty doggone good too at blocking the plate.
Kid was too.
And Ed Ott.
I know that. Scioscia was good because when we would face the Dodgers, Mel would bring all the pitchers in a room and said, if you are going to score at home, do not slide. I mean, don't slide into them. Slide around them or whatever. Don't break your ankle.
Those are the little details, you know, of Mel doing that. That's impressive. He's taking care of his little flock.
Some not so little.
Hey, from what I know of that group, they were anything but cheap. Full count to Buck with 1 out. And he hits one back up the middle for his second hit of the night. So 1 out and 1 on for the Marlins. Let's check in with the studio, see what's coming up on WB Mason Postgame Live. Chris and Bobby, guys. All right, here's Greg Dobbs to pinch hit for the pitcher. Dobbs, who's had quite a career as a left-handed bat off the bench, had a miserable year last year. but has bounced back this season. Dobbs last year, or 2 years ago I should say, with the Phillies hit just 196, and now in his second year for Florida, and a good year last year and a good year again this year. If you can swing the bat as a left-handed hitter off the bench, you can play forever.
Yep.
Dobbs now 33 going on 34.
His best season so we're World Championship year for those Phillies. Phillies were lucky. They had Dobbs. He did a great job. Then Dobbs wasn't there, and Ross Gload came over and had his best couple of years.
They also had Matt Stairs there for a while. It's a big left-handed bat. Matt's doing some TV work now.
For Nesson, for the Red Sox, pregame.
Of course, he's a Maine guy, right?
That's right, maniac.
2-1 to Dobbs. Looking ahead to the bottom of the ninth, the Mets will have 2, 3, and 4 in the order coming up. Murphy, Wright, and Hairston. And Valdez being available off the bench, so Baxter as well. So the Mets trying to keep this close and give themselves a chance against Cishek in the bottom of the ninth. Roush struggling behind in the count 3-1. Is there any particular reason why you'd be holding John Buck on base here?
No, I mean, I don't see any reason to.
Especially with a left-hand hitter up.
I mean, earlier you could have thought of maybe hitting and running.
Davey was always kind of reluctant to let me play behind runners for some reason late in games, even when they weren't speedsters. I'd always ask in the dugout. We always, I would scream at him, Davey, Davey, and give him the cross sign with my hands because I wasn't going to play behind on my own. I had to ask permission, but Davey didn't like me to do that. Only when we had a bigger lead. So I would play behind him.
I mean, even if you just played a step behind him and then you can back up as the pitch is thrown.
Well, that's how you would do it.
Now, was Whitey different? Whitey wants you to play halfway behind the runner?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Whitey liked you playing behind
when
you had the lead because you had AstroTurf. He wanted you to cover more ground.
3-2. Buck is running, and it's slapped to third right with a nice pickup. Gets the out at first. Trying for third is Buck, and he will make it without a throw. Great base running by Buck, going on the pitch and on the slowly developing play, able to go first to third on the ground out.
Well, it is good base running. David way in the hole, looked at Buck. It might have been well served just to get rid of it quickly, not give Buck so much attention because he's not a speed. Actually, he runs pretty better than I thought once he's moving.
Well, what's interesting about that play, if the ground ball is to David, I saw he's running, so Tejada went to cover. Usually Tejada would be moving that way in a ground ball and get to third base easily.
So nice heads up by Buck.
So a runner at third with 2 down, and now Donovan Solano. And he takes a strike from Roush. Solano 0 for 4 tonight. Hit the ball hard once. That was a bullet right back at John Neese that he turned into a double play.
Now, if David makes that play, Ron, he knows that the runner that Buck was running. Yeah. He's got no chance for a force and fields it and throws to first, and Buck has no shot to go to third.
Still somebody has to cover third.
Well, David got back and
can't get this one. Tejada does and gets Solano at first to end the inning. So Roush able to get the ground balls to get through the inning, and now the Mets come up in the bottom of the ninth, down 4-2. to you by Citi, proud sponsor of the New York Mets. By Modell's. Stop by your local Modell's and enter the Amazing Mets sweepstakes for your chance to win a once-in-a-lifetime Mets experience. By Kia Motors. By Pepsi. Get 50% off 2 tickets when you bring your Mets 50th anniversary can to the Citi Field box office. Visit Mets.com/PepsiCan for more information. And by New York 811. Before any digging project, big or small, call 811 to get your buried utility lines marked. Know what's below? Call 811 before you dig. Steve Cishek, the side-arming right-hander, on to try and save it for Miami.
Well, pretty much an unconventional closer. In today's game, you have a guy come in throwing 100 miles an hour, but Cishek, a guy who, you said, Gary, throws from the side, got a good kind of frisbee slider, and sinks his fastball.
And like most sidearmers, very vulnerable to left-hand hitters. You see the right-hander sitting just $170 against him, but the left-hander's 286. Mets will have Murphy to lead off the inning. Murphy 2 for 4 tonight, including his first Citi Field home run of the year. That was in the 5th, and that was off a left-hander.
Well, what makes them so vulnerable, the slingers, the submariners to lefties, is that they're going to run that sinker away. There he started him out inside corner.
David Wright, Scott Hairston to follow. And I would doubt that Hairston or Bay would bat against Cishek because you have Valdespin and Baxter both available on the bench to pinch hit. Cishek quickly ahead on Murphy, 0-2. Cishek 5 for 5 in save opportunities since being anointed the closer and taking over for Heath Bell.
By default.
The pride of Falmouth, Mass.
On the Cape.
Harrison's already taken the helmet off, knowing he's not going to bat against the side-arming righty. Now the 0-2, and Murphy takes high. A ball and 2 strikes. Well, the Marlins starter Wade LeBlanc left with the lead after 4 innings plus, so if the Marlins hang on to win, the scorer will have to award the victory to one of the Marlins relievers, probably go to Carlos Zambrano. Slapped over the bag, but just foul, and it's still 1-2.
Backdoor breaking ball there from Cishek. Good job by Murph getting a piece of that.
Yeah, but the odds are, Murph always stays in anyway. He's a tough strikeout, but you know, basically Cishek's best pitch is just with 2 strikes is to try to come inside and get him on the inside corner. And there's Buck setting up in.
And he gets him with the fastball, so Cishek fans Murphy to start the inning. Now David Wright. David's 1 for 4 tonight, hit a bloop single back in the 3rd. Hardest hit ball was his last time up. He lined out to left field. Just 8 hits in his last 52 at bats. Mets need to get somebody on to have a chance. As yet, nobody's come out on deck, but you figure it's going to be Valdespin or Baxter. There's Valdespin getting ready. And Wright takes it wide for ball 1. So Valdespin will hit for Hairston, and then if anybody gets on, probably see Baxter to hit for Bay.
Valdespin for the pop that might tie the ball game. Baxter if you need later a clutch hit.
1-1 to Wright.
Baxter obviously the more disciplined hitter, but Valdespin the far more dangerous.
David 1 for 4 against this right-hander. And that slider just off the plate, 2-1. Cishek, 26 years old. 45 games with the Marlins last year, and now working the 9th. And that's a letter high strike, and it's 2-2.
Submariner would be the only pitcher that would start a ball high and it would sink a little at the very end.
Now the 2-2 to Wright, and he comes inside with the fastball. It's a full count. Mets need a base runner any way they can get one. David's already drawn 65 walks this year, just one off the league lead.
Very shallow outfield here. Surprising. Center field and right.
3-2. Oh, and he chased a pitch well out of the strike zone. Right is out on strikes. Cishek with back-to-back strikeouts.
Well, he just chased a slider, and I tell you what, it's a hard chore when you face a submariner righty on righty or lefty to lefty. It's a tough chore for a hitter. This guy rushes it up there pretty good too.
For a submariner.
Yep.
You don't see many submariners throw in the 90s.
So now the Mets are down to their final out, and Jordani Valdespin will try and keep it going. He's got 5 pinch hit home runs, but the Mets don't need a home run here. They need a base runner any way they can get one. Valdespin's been a little more patient lately, and he takes that fastball for a strike. Cishek with back-to-back strikeouts to start the inning. And Valdespin pops it up. This should end the game. Buck waiting, and that ends it. So Cishek pitches a 1-2-3 ninth. The last 9 Met hitters are retired by the Miami bullpen as their pen goes 5 innings and allows just 1 run to secure the victory in the opening game of the series. The Marlins winning it 4-2.
Well, a lot of the same thing for the Mets. A 4-run fourth against Jonathan Neese. The starter was all they needed. And they've been routinely leaving men on and striking out. 11 of both. 11 strikeouts and 11 left on base.
Well, just the big inning again was the demise of Jonathan Neese, that 4-run fourth, and he goes to 8-6 on the season.
So the Marlins win it on the strength of the one big inning against John Neese, as they win it 4-2. As you look at the City game summary. Game 2 of the series tomorrow night starting at 6:30. Our coverage begins. Chris Young against Nathan Eovaldi will join you tomorrow night from the Pepsi porch. Now for Keith Hernandez, Ron Darling, Kevin Burkhardt, and our entire SNY crew, I'm Gary Cohen at Citi Field. Time for WB Mason post-game live. Let's join Chris Carlin and Bobby Ojeda in the studio, guys.